Can't be bought or sold. Why do they hide the ball? The lies which are spoken and stories told will be their downfall. On the road, traveling for truth, a journey unknown. From ocean sides to the center lines, we'll find the answers never shown. Together shadows loom, we plant a seed. The sun comes up and the flowers bloom. Truth shall be freed. A journey unknown, from ocean sides to the center lines, we'll find the answers never
All right, everybody, welcome to A Crimes After Dark. I get jamming backstage. Half my crew was back there playing the drums, air drums, everybody's going, rocking. I love that song. It's a great way to start a Friday night. Thank you for joining A Crimes After Dark. And yeah, we're a little cerebral, but on Friday nights, we let our hair down a little bit. We have a little bit of fun. It's a little crazy. We're going to talk about a lot of deep subjects, but hopefully it'll be entertaining. And I see Dago's got some sticks backstage. Anyways, we'll get everybody on panel really, really quick. Just let you know what the theme of tonight is. We're going to start asking questions. Did Christopher Whitcomb in his new book, Broken Plea, dodge a bunch of questions? Is he lying to us? Is he trying to misdirect? Is he trying to control the narrative, shape the narrative? These are questions we're going to ask because, look, Christopher Whitcomb is a big boy. He can handle difficult questions. We didn't really give him a lot of difficult questions on our interview with him, but we are going to start asking some of those questions now. And by the way, I have a really, really sneaky suspicion Christopher Whitcomb is going to be back on our show again, fielding some of these difficult questions. So this is a night for you, for those of you who are out there challenging Christopher Whitcomb in his new book, Broken Plea. God damn it. Challenging. Oh, yeah. I do have the parental advisory. Okay, good. Because whenever I swear, I'm like, I got to remind myself to hold back on that a little bit. Anyways, let's get the panel on and let's get at it on a Friday night. Thank you for joining us on Crimes After Dark. We got Dago. We've got Robin. We've got 1-1. We've got JJ. And I got my beautiful wife backstage doing moderation support. So she's not going to join us on screen. We got a full panel. Welcome, team. How you guys doing on a Friday night?
Yes.
My head
Very
is
good. Very
Ready
good.
to go.
my song. The music won't stop. Damn it! It started and it won't stop.
It's amazing. That song kicks I just love
does.
it.
It
somebody's
does.
like, this takes me back to the 80s hair bands. Yeah, I mean, look at my age. I was an 80 hair band kind of guy. Like all those bands, I worshiped those guys. You know what the problem was? I couldn't grow my hair long. It would hit my shoulders and it would just curl. It would never grow long. I could never be oh God, I'm so pissed. I never got the long hair look going. I didn't have the earrings. I got my ears pierced 5 times. I wore makeup. I did the whole night, but it fucking didn't work. I just couldn't. My hair fucking looked like shit. I was never born to be a rocker. But I tried.
That song reminds me of a modernized, souped up version of Iron Maiden. I love it. I don't know, Joe.
Yeah, it's good.
You know what I mean, Joe? Like the
the shredder guitar, the high pitched
Yeah.
vocals, that real heavy, hard, like double bass kick drum and all that.
That's yeah, double bass kick drum. That's how you do it. That's how
There's
you
a
do
lot
it.
of quads rolling on that one too, you guys. A lot
Yeah,
of quads.
no, look, I'm not a shredder guitar player, but I followed, like I like a lot of that stuff.
Of course.
I was more of a rock and roll blues kind of jazzy kind of player. I wasn't a shredder. And that shit's hard, man.
Yeah.
Try playing drums to it. I played anything from Bob Seger to Slipknot. So
Yeah.
I would rather play the Seeger than the Slipknot. My knees definitely don't like the Slipknot. I'll tell you right now.
And one thing, Dago, my first instrument was drums, and I was obsessed with the drums when I was a little kid.
Right.
Yeah.
I started when I was like 12, but with a father that worked 12 hours a day commuting to the city, he wasn't having a drum kit in the house.
Oh, I'm sure. It's very
So-
hard.
Moto Man
never
MX
got
says
that far.
he's a bass player. You know what? I've told you this before, but I
Nice.
was obsessed when I was a young teen. I was obsessed with Motley Crue, and I was obsessed with Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue because he was a bass player and he wrote
Right.
most of their music. He wrote their lyrics. He wrote most of their music, and I loved the fact that a bass player was the one that was writing their music. And I thought a guitarist would write the music, not the bass player. But it was kind of very cool.
I say I can play bass. It's funny. I'm not the greatest on the guitar. I can play a bit. My son can, but I can play a bass. I don't know if it's because I'm a drummer or what it is, but I can play the bass. I have no problems with that. Love the drums though. Although my body don't love it anymore. I can't really play like I used to.
Who are your favorite drummers, man? You gotta give it up.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Neil Peart's gonna come in. Yeah,
Neil
Neil Peart.
Peart.
I knew Neil Peart was gonna be the first.
He's my favorite too.
He is my favorite of all times, and people get disappointed when I say some of these, but Neil Peart, Travis Barker, of course. I used to be a huge fan of Lars Ulrich, but he took that away when he became an asshole. So I still like his drumming.
A bit of an asshole.
Yeah, I like his drumming style, but I don't like him as a person.
What I got to tell you, what I loved about Lars is he's a little short guy, and he would just be like wailing on the fucking, he's wailing, and he's like
he can't even reach the drum set, right?
I love that dude. He put in so much passion. That dude could wail on the fucking drums. Anyways,
we got a gift, and I got a statement actually on that.
Okay, so, Moto MX, thank you so much for that.
This is correct. Cliff Burton did write a lot of
Metallica's first 3 to 4
Yes,
however,
he did.
But don't take away Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. Dave
Mustaine
actually has written, and I'm a huge Metallica fan, and Dago
wasn't he? He was kicked out. He was a guitarist for Metallica in the early days.
He was the original.
He was kicked out. Yeah, he was
the original guitarist and vocalist was Dave Mustaine. Yes.
Do you know James Hetfield lives here? He lives here where I live.
In Colorado?
No, here where I live.
In Vail.
He lives right down the street from me.
Well, shit. Go get him on the show.
He talked about it on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
He lived in Vail, and then he moved down the street, he moved west of Vail. So he lives right down the street.
Wow.
So Cliff Burton wrote
a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
Cliff Burton wrote on Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All, which were the first couple albums. Dave Mustaine wrote almost everything on Kill 'Em All and did most everything initially. And then also Rob McGovney.
Most of their hit,
was the original
bass songs.
Damn it, Robin, you're really quiet. Were you not a headbanger in our era? Were you not a headbanger?
Well, I like to dance and everything to it, but I don't know like the trivia shit behind it.
Yeah, what kind of music did you listen to back in
oh my God,
80s, 90s?
I'm a singer, so anything from country, R&B, rock, some heavier stuff. So I listen to anything and everything almost.
That's a true music. That's a true music lover.
Rush was one of my favorite bands. And when I was young, because I was fascinated and obsessed with the drums, obviously Neil Peart was like, I've read his books. You know, he's written some banger books. He was a motorcycle rider and he wrote books about it. He wrote the lyrics. Neil Peart wrote the lyrics for Rush when he joined the band.
Yeah,
we are. By the way,
yeah, Def Leppard's one of my favorites. That's
believe it or not, we are a true crime show. But sometimes on Friday nights we get into music. Def Leppard did kick ass. I saw Def Leppard in concert at least once. I saw them with Tesla. I'm trying to see if I saw them twice, but Tesla opened for Def Leppard when they were in the round. Remember, this was after Rick Allen lost his arm in the car accident and was doing one-arm drumming. Yeah. That's when I saw Def Leppard with Tesla. Tesla, by the way, was a badass band.
Tesla is a badass band. Period. Yeah. They just rock. I love Tesla.
Moto Man MX, you are accurate. This is true. Cliff was a big part of the band and he did write a lot. But what I'm trying to tell you, I'm a huge Metallica fan.
Thank you for the gift, by the way, Moto Man. Again, thank you.
A lot of their newer stuff. I'm not saying that, Hetfield didn't write anything, whatever, but a lot of the hit stuff that put them on the market was from Cliff and was from Dave Mustaine. Mustaine he was there. It's just Mustaine was he was fucking out of his mind. He was drunk. They almost got into an accident.
He's still touring.
They almost got into They almost got into like a crazy accident when he was drunk, like riding the whatever, their van or whatever, after Cliff had already died. They were in an accident.
Dave had a bad
they
problem
drank
back
all the
in
time. But Mustaine was a fucking badass. He was like, that's what like Megadeth kind of got. They kind of got like the Motley Crue, like the Motley Crue type of the I guess the stigma of Motley Crue was like they were fucking like crazy backstage, party guys backstage. Mustaine is a tough son of a bitch. He's got like 5 black belts in all kinds of different.
Oh wow,
yeah, he's crazy.
He's fucking insane. He is insane.
Wow.
He got into politics. Didn't Mustaine get into politics eventually?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. But he's also into witchcraft and all kinds of crazy.
He's wicked.
I love a guy who's got an eclectic background. I like a
Wiccan is different than witchcraft.
Right.
Right. I know a thing or two about Wicca and witchcraft. I know.
Luther just posted
I know, but one's over there going, he got into witchcraft.
No, he did.
He did.
He did. He's into witchcraft.
Luther just posted my third influence for drumming, which is John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. Another one.
Bonham,
absolutely amazing. Period. Yeah. So, Neil Peart, John Bonham, and Travis Barker are like my 3 most. And everybody's like, how the hell can you say Travis Barker's name even next to Neil Peart's name? If anybody's never watched Travis Barker play the drums, don't say a word to me until you watch this man. Is tiny as he is, and the things he can do on a 6-piece drum set, you would think he's got a 32-piece drum set. I'm telling you right now, it's amazing to me. So 100%. And for nobody that knows who he is, he was the drummer from Blink 182. The dude is amazing.
Yeah.
But you want to know my favorite drummer? He's not what you guys would consider a drummer. Yeah. He's actually a beatboxer, and he is actually a human who is if you guys would ever, his name is Adam Rupp. He's from the vocal band Home Free.
I know
the man can do almost anything with his mouth and his body that a drummer can do with a drum kit.
Yes.
You'd be surprised what I can do with my mouth, Robin. It's
I bet you'll have to talk around about that. I don't want to know anything about it.
Here we go again.
It's Friday night. I had to.
It's Friday night, people. You don't know what's going to happen. No, but Adam Rupp, he is a beast because he can do anything that a person with a drum kit can do and more. So if you guys haven't checked out Home Free, those are my boys. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Lee, could I say something before we not to really change the topic, but I have
to. You have a monologue, don't you?
I do, but I have to say something. I saw I didn't pin I know people were donating. We love you guys. Thank you, Moto, and anyone else that has donated. Yeah, someone made a comment earlier. Yes, I saw the Brian Enton interview. We don't issue threats. We don't issue any kind of stuff like that on here. So when I say something, I'm saying it figuratively. If I could take a flamethrower and put it behind his ass, oh my God.
What Brian Enton interview?
He did an interview.
He interviewed Christopher Whitcomb.
He interviewed Chris.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this guy is such a piece of garbage. I am so fired up. I'm ready to like punch a hole through the wall.
Is it something I would go off about?
Yes,
probably.
He starts off the interview right away. He's like, he was kind of nice. He didn't bash Chris, or whatever. He did his thing and he asked some questions and different stuff like that. But he starts off with, well, yes, we know BK said that he would, he plead guilty, right? Not that we haven't brought up the book Framed a million times on this show. We'll bring it up another million times. But he says, okay, well, he said he's guilty, so he's guilty, right? So yeah, he's guilty. But you know what? He turned his phone off at 2:00, and his white Elantra went all, was back and forth. I had fire in my eyes. Because in the same sentence, like almost in the same sentence where he says he turned his phone off and all this stuff, he's like, I want to assure you, no one has read more documents. And I spent like 6 months living in Idaho. I interviewed the family. I've read every document from like word to word. I know everything about this case. Well, you obviously don't. You're a fucking idiot, okay? You are a moron.
Mr. Enton.
You are an
Come
idiot.
on our show. We'll do
attack
battle.
people. I don't attack people too often when they have their opinion. For you to just come, you have the mainstream media in your back pocket, and to come out and again and say, "Oh, he turned his phone off." No, they didn't, and they didn't say he turned his phone off. Read the probable cause affidavit.
Right.
You said that you read every word.
It said it lost connection with the cell tower, and then Payne said,
it turned
"Well,
off.
I've in my experience, criminals sometimes turn off their phones when they never said he turned off his phone. It was a fucking stretch of the wording."
How are they still running that narrative when it's
Celebrate was going to come on and say that Brian Koberger turned his phone off, which was bullshit.
Yeah,
bullshit.
And then the white Elantra shit again. How many times? Like maybe we should drive a white Elantra to your house so you can see what a white Elantra actually is, and look at fog lights and look at all this other stuff. Again, read the damn PCA. What does it say? Suspect vehicle 1, a car consistent of. It doesn't. It was not his car. It's been proven like a million times now. Stop with the horse shit. Just stop.
Why do it's amazing to me how people fall for the little things, like just like you said, like it lost cell tower connection, and that is like whatever, and then they make a leap to conclusion, or pinging off the cell tower that services the house at 1122 King. Even Bill Thompson said a lot of phones ping off the cell tower that services the house. They knew it was horseshit, but America bought it largely. They bought it. Oh, holy shit! How do you explain that he was stalking the girls for the last? He wasn't.
He wasn't.
Literally, every 30,000 people. If your logic was the pinging off the cell tower, 30,000 people are probably part of that crime.
3,800 for sure. We'll know that.
3,800. Yeah, maybe I'm blowing a number. It's Friday night. I can fucking exaggerate. Anyways,
so be it.
All right. Let me. I'll do the monologue quick. So
do a monologue. Let's get it.
I'll do it. So that my son can go to bed.
I'm gonna have to go watch that and go off.
Oh yeah, sorry to your son for all the F words.
That's okay. I curse myself, so blame me. Is it good to be alive in a den on a Friday night? I hope you guys are as fired up as I am.
Yeah.
All right, Jackson, Juliana, my wife, love you guys. It starts with certainty, a courtroom, a confession, 5 counts, 5 times the same answer, guilty. And just like that, the world is told the story is over. But then someone reopens it. In Broken Plea, former FBI agent Christopher Whitcomb doesn't just question the case, he challenges it. He points to gaps, DNA that may be too small, evidence that may have moved, timelines that don't quite line up. He suggests mishandling, confusion, even the possibility that what we think we know might be wrong. But here's the problem. When you start pulling at threads like that, you better be sure they hold. Because the same questions he asks about the investigation can be asked about him. If the DNA is unreliable, then what replaces it? If the timeline is flawed, what's the correct one? If the crime scene was altered, where is the proof that stands on its own? Because raising doubt is not the same as proving truth. And in a case this brutal, this final, suggestion can feel like evidence, even when it isn't. So tonight, we step into uncomfortable territory, not to defend the official story, not to tear it down blindly, but to examine the space in between, where one narrative says this man is guilty. And another asks, what if we got it wrong? Because if the investigation has holes, we need to see them clearly. But if those holes are being stretched, reframed, or overstated, we need to see that too. 4 victims, 1 conviction, and now 2 competing versions of reality. The question isn't just what happened at night. The question is who's telling it straight and who's filling in the blanks. This is Devil's Advocates. And with that, live from New York, it's Friday night.
All right. Thank you very much. Good night, little 1-1 family. Welcome.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night, little 1-1.
I kind of look forward to Friday nights. I get a little looser on Friday nights, I think, and I'm looking forward to tonight's show. What I do want to focus on tonight, now that we've gotten a little bit past the music and all the fun, is I do want to focus on first of all, I'm going to give you a personal beef. I feel like there's certain creators who act like I'm a fucking rollover because they think that, well, I would have never been such a pussy like DA and just given softball questions to Christopher Whitcomb. I would have taken him to task. Well, good luck with that. First of all, again, I say this, and I've said this a million times. Christopher Whitcomb's book is for people who are actually thinkers, who can read between the lines. There's things. It's almost more that was not said than what was said. But having said that, there were some glaring problems with the book from our perspective. There was areas that he didn't touch at all. I'm going to give you a few of my opinions on why he didn't touch certain areas. I talked to JJ about this a lot. By the way, JJ in particular with State of the Deep, he's one of those people who really kind of questioned the whole, like, you know, is this shaping? Is this the FBI trying to control the narrative through a guy who basically is a former Fed? Like Christopher Whitcomb's a former Fed. We cannot ignore that as part of the discussion. Right. So we're going to talk about that tonight. But I want to point out something to you as well. There are some areas that I knew Christopher Whitcomb was like. I read the book. My team read the book. Dago read the book, and we knew that and JJ as well read the book. And which I guess was me saying the same thing I just fucking said, which is my team read the book. The point being is that we all knew there were certain areas that Christopher was trying to avoid saying. For example, he never touched the why did it take 9 hours to call 911? And all of you wanted me to ask them about that, but that wasn't part of the book for a reason. And so I wasn't about to take Christopher Whitcomb to task on the 911 call because it's not what the focus of the book was about. So I stayed within the parameters of the book. And some of you have challenged me like I somehow failed my job, that I should have questioned him about all the things that didn't make the book. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about what things didn't make the book. And then more importantly, when I asked certain questions, and look, Custody Queens asked him some questions. Birdie asked him some questions. He's been doing the rounds. And Christopher has been dodging a few questions. Before I turn it over to the panel for discussion, I want to tell you one of the things I feel like Christopher Whitcomb was dodging that I want to explain because JJ, when I talked about it, he agreed with me. There was a part of the book where he talked about the extensive injuries to Ethan and Kaylee and the victims in the house. He wasn't fond of the idea of getting on a screen and going into details about the victims' injuries. He wrote about it in the book. But look, the last thing he wants is a bunch of fucking viral clips of him talking in details about brutal murders. Right. Give him a fucking break, guys. Like, he doesn't want that to be what the focus is about the throats being slit and stuff like that. He talks about it in the book. But yeah, he kind of dodged that question on the panel. And why wouldn't he? Because he knows those clips are going to go viral. Those are the ones that are going to go viral. So, but having said that, some of us, including JJ and I, when we were talking about this in depth, wondered why did Christopher Whitcomb have such, and I'm going to be blunt on a Friday night, such a hard-on for the black SUV? Did he oversell the black SUV? Was he trying to push a narrative? So let's talk about what he said and what he didn't say. Let's be a little critical. Christopher Whitcomb, I hope, will understand that we're grown-ups and we're going to ask some difficult questions. We're not going to accept everything at point blank. But yeah, there were some questions that we didn't push back on. Remember, we were the first ever interview of Christopher Whitcomb on this book. You're not going to go attack the guy on his first ever interview. So we will, I believe, have Christopher Whitcomb back. I assure you of this. Christopher Whitcomb is not afraid of difficult questions. He may refuse to answer them, and that's fine. He may refuse to answer them, but he's not afraid of the questions. So we will ask him some deeper questions. But for a panel, and maybe I want to start with JJ. What were your biggest criticisms you think of what he didn't say and what he dodged on the interview that I had with him.
Okay, well, a couple of things. First, I wanted to say, I believe, DA, you were the only one who brought up the fact that, hey, people are going to say you're a Fed. You're coming in to shift the narrative. I don't believe anybody else brought that up.
No.
Right? All right. So first and foremost, I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Very good point.
Now, for me, I like the guy. He's engaging. He's got a very interesting history. He's obviously a highly trained individual. He's obviously very intelligent. And when I meet somebody, I look at it like this. Hey, I like this person just like one-on-one or in a group setting, rapping with them, talking about music or whatever. But I also am not going to abandon the way that I think. So for people who don't know, the way that I look at things is not necessarily what people say. It's how they say it and what they don't say. And I pay close attention because of my personal background on the way they respond. I pay attention to body language. I pay attention to how they respond and what words they use. And so on the overall aspect of it, you have to look at who Chris is. We know, if anybody who's done research knows who he is, right? And his background, or at least a chunk of his background. Okay, you cannot separate that from just because he wrote a book about a true crime case, all of a sudden, because it's something we're all interested in, separate his background from that. Yeah. He was not just in the FBI. He was a special agent. These are his words. He was also an intelligence contractor. He openly talks about it. So I would be giving up any intellectual curiosity if I didn't tie that in to what the big picture is. And everybody who's watched this channel is sick of hearing me talk about what my overarching theory is. And that has not changed. And reading the book, in fact, reinforced that for me about my theory. So, again, when I noticed that there were certain questions, he very strategically either shut them down or steered away from them. And then I want to point out something that DA and I talked about. I almost said DNA. DA and I talked about today, which if DA wants to, we'll get into it later. Another aspect of what came up about the first officer on the scene thinking that it was a suicide as an initial impression.
Let me address real quick. We've got a gift, by the way, from Susan. Was it
Suzanne Silberstein? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I wanted to address that real quick, but I don't want to miss that other thing. That was Neil and Bob. Is this just a FBI fanboy channel? First of all, no offense, but fuck no. Come on, man. Like I look, you obviously don't know my channel if you don't know that we have challenged mainstream media, we have challenged law enforcement, we have challenged the FBI, we have said the FBI did illegal shit to get to Bryan Kohberger, and that's probably why they wanted no fucking part of it. We are not an FBI fanboy channel, so let's get that shit out of the way right now. We're not.
I guess they didn't listen to anything I said.
Right?
No.
Did they not?
That's not
and not watch the channel. Anyways,
all right. So let me
go ahead.
Let me just finish the main point that I'm getting at, and we can all add to this as we go forward. I paid attention to more once I saw that the way that he was responding to things. I said, I'm not going to sit here and hijack the stream and try to push back on this or push back on that. I just paid attention to how he responded to things.
Right.
And like DA said, he's a big boy. I would be very surprised if he expected everybody to just roll over and accept everything that he said. If he did, then he didn't give us that much credit. So I
agreed.
Looking at the big picture, I sense that there is a possibility that he had potentially another agenda where he was trying to steer away from certain things. And I will say this is the last that I'll say right now. The timeline. Okay. What I call the dissident true crime channels, us, Birdie, Lana, Jules, there are others as well, have questioned the official narrative. Okay. Now, one of the big things we've all questioned is the timeline, right? Jules explicitly stated that she has a lot of reason to believe, and others do as well, that a portion of the 1112 footage was not redacted. It was without sound. Okay. Right. That's related to the timeline. Okay. So the one thing that I'm going to point out that's the most important, and I have a lot to say about a lot of other things that I won't get into now, is the shift away from that timeline and no credence given to people thinking that the murders happened earlier. Now, the black truck. Yeah. Maybe that's the biggest bombshell in the world. It might be, right? But what it also does is it focuses the attention to the later timeline.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
very true. Very true.
You have to, I promise I'm not going to get into the big picture stuff right now, but you have to question whenever somebody comes in that's got the background that Chris has and is dismissing certain aspects of the case that are long held beliefs of this quote unquote dissident true crime community and literally gives them no credence whatsoever and shuts them down. Like the drug angle, the timeline. Those are two. There are several others.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that for now.
Because I asked about the drug angle. Yeah.
Let me riff on that a little bit because I want to make this clear. I asked Christopher Whitcomb, and look, yes, would I like to have Christopher Whitcomb back on the show? Absolutely. Do I think he has something to offer? Absolutely. Do I think we need to all be careful about how you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face. But I asked him on camera about these screams that you hear in the 230 window. And he kind of blew it off as that's just a fucking typical party town fucking sound. You know, Christopher Whitcomb, I respectfully disagree. That was not the fucking sound of a typical party type fucking atmosphere. Somebody saw something horrific and screamed in terror. So I disagree with him. And yes, I didn't push back super hard for him on the interview because it was our first interview with him. And look, we're going to ask him tougher questions as we go forward. But just as an example, for those of you who think I just fucking rolled over on him, I asked him about the question. He kind of dodged it and said, that's typical sounds of the evening. I disagree with that. I'll ask him about it more when we get another chance with him. And he's a big boy. He can handle that question. But I'm going to take him to task on that. To me, that's not typical college party town thing that you hear.
No,
if it was, tell me that law enforcement investigated that scream and found out that it was just never mind. Maybe it was a fight. That's fine. If it was a fight and somebody saw their boyfriend get punched in the face and they screamed that way, then tell us that. Tell us what the origin of that scream was so that we can put that shit to rest.
Yeah.
That would be good.
JJ he was perfect, spot on there. I mean, you have to look at how people answer a question and I wanted to know how he, because he kept saying, and no one's, I guess, really debating that Kaylee died in Maddie's room, right? That it's not really no one's really saying that didn't happen. But the issue that I had, he was so this was one of my issues. He kind of was contradicting himself a bit.
Yes.
He uses Turvey. He praises Turvey, and I'll mention him a bit later. Something some stuff about Turvey. Turvey is extremely smart. He's very, very good. He has ridiculous history and background and all kinds of forensic stuff and staging crime scenes and a whole bunch of other things. Maybe we'll get into later. He uses Turvey and he mentions Turvey so much in his book. Well, it's Turvey is the one that pointed out the inconsistency in Sutton, the state's forensic specialist, Sutton, who said that that there was an attack at the beer pong table. It was she just was, because of the numbering of the DNA or whatever of the different stuff, she thought it was Xana's blood. Xana was the person behind it, but it doesn't matter whether it's Xana. It doesn't matter who it was. Sutton made her determination. She's also a specialist that a certain blood spatter she felt in her expertise happened from an attack, not from someone touching the table or a drop from the knife. She said it was from an attack. It somehow she didn't change her opinion. What she very carefully did was she left her opinion out. Once it changed that certain blood spot, that blood area on the beer pong table was now listed. Now we know it was Kaylee's blood. All of a sudden, her analysis that it was an attack gets left out of the updated conclusion. And he said, because I forget who asked him, he said he had all the updated reports, from Turvey and Sutton. He had it. So I don't know why, he was kind of brushing around it. And Dago tried to follow up too. And I have issues with that.
So look, this is the difficulty. All kinds of great questions are coming in chat, and look, all of us panel members, with maybe the exception of Robin, she's pretty more reserved, but all of us are long-winded motherfuckers. I'll just say that right now. So it's hard when I watch 5 different comments go by that I want to comment. To go back to what JJ said, it did feel a little bit like Christopher Whitcomb wanted us to focus on the official timeline, is not timeline, because I think his book makes it clear it couldn't have happened in 4 minutes. It just absolutely couldn't. But they still want to place the murders at the 4 o'clock time frame. So when we challenge him that on the screams, and he's like, well, that just that's just typical party sounds. It makes you wonder: is he trying? Is all the focus on the black SUV because they want to? Let's say he was shifting a narrative. Is he trying to make us focus on the 4 o'clock time frame and not when it may have happened in the 2 o'clock? And so it's a legitimate question that JJ's asking. Is it just trying to focus your attention on 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock's when it happened and not 2 o'clock, but maybe it happened between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. That's one of the questions. Real quick, I also wanted to just comment on this user, Joanne 5075, a very, very, very astute comment. I think Chris was just breaking the ice. 100%. Chris's book is not to be considered the definitive source. He's just starting the conversation. There is, I assure you, there is much, much more coming. This book is just a primer. So he's not going to answer all the questions. Chris knows more than he said in that book. I'll guarantee you he knows more than he said in that book. That was just a starter for conversation. Now, again, the $1 million question for tonight is JJ on the right thing? That is he starting the conversation because he wants the conversation to shift into a certain area? Does he want to focus on the 4 o'clock time frame and not towards an earlier time frame? Is there any part of that book that is trying to narrative shape? And look, from I've been in JJ's world. I live in JJ's world. I don't talk about it a lot, but there's a real argument to be made that the way you win over somebody is you give them a little piece of information that they didn't have before, therefore looking like you've given them some new bombshell while simultaneously misleading them in the wrong direction. So you kind of win their trust by giving. So did that happen in this book? Did Christopher Whitcomb give us something to show that, hey, look, I've given you something great, something new, and now follow my lead as I take you in the opposite direction?
Go ahead, Robin. Here's what we should do with his book. Okay. We should, just like we question everything else, documents and so forth and so on, we need to take his book and we need to question that as well. Is he trying to shape the narrative? If so, which parts would that be? If he is, I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying, like we do everything else and question it. Where okay, let's look at the area that is being focused on in a particular part of the book. Let's go back, let's revisit, let's utilize it any way we can. I do believe that there is a lot of good information in this book. So, but you're
Yeah.
right, JJ. We can't always take things at face value. So let's do with it like we've done with all kinds of other stuff. And
Yeah.
And
He said, yeah, go ahead.
And before JJ, because I know JJ, I think should really kind of lead. I mean, he's the guy that really, being a CIA agent as he is, of course, he probably has more of a perspective on this. But before I do that, before we unchain JJ, I want to Chihuahuas in Crime. He's only been investigating this since the plea deal. YouTubers have been investigating for 3 years. He's giving us something we didn't know. We should inform of stuff he got wrong. So. Chihuahuas in Crime. Let me reiterate what you just said. Chris Whitcomb even said, "I didn't watch a lot of YouTube. I didn't want to hear what the theories were out there." And he is he either lied, and I'm not saying he did, but he either lied and he knows a lot more about what YouTube is saying than he said, or he really didn't want to see what YouTubers were saying and just purely did his book. Because of that, he could clearly get shit wrong that we've all figured out was wrong a long time ago, and he doesn't know. Because remember, all of us probably had a theory 3 years ago that has been proven wrong today. So he came at it with fresh eyes, and he's going to say some things wrong. Now, one argument can be made is he knows damn well what's out there, and he's not saying things wrong. He's actually trying to mislead. Or he's just like all of us, and he came upon it, and he's like, wow, I think this is this. And had he had the benefit of all of us 3 years later, you realize, well, maybe I was wrong about that. Like, he just wrote a book. Like, maybe he was wrong about some things. But JJ, what do you think?
Contradicted himself.
Is it misdirection, or did he just not know the case very well?
Well, I think I should stay on certain things, and then if anybody on the team and UDA want to do a long form video talking about the much bigger picture stuff, that's your call, DA. I've written out theories. I've workshopped theories incessantly in the last few days. And I did read the whole book, and I took notes, and I wrote notes about things that were strange to me and what I thought they could be, relating to. So you tell me what you want, which avenue you want me to focus on, DA.
I think you should just go wherever you want to go. Like, I'm not trying to chain you. I think that what I like about you being part of this show is you'll ask questions that make us all think. And I don't think there's any reason why, or any place to go where you shouldn't go. Like, I don't know that I want to steer you, like, wherever you think.
One thing about, again, the overarching thing, this is not personal. This is not like I'm attacking Chris. This is not that. This is, if it was any other person, if it was someone who didn't come on the show, if it was someone that was making the rounds on mainstream media, I would do the exact same thing. So it has nothing to do with like, oh, I've got an attitude and I'm attacking him. That's not what this is. But as I said, you cannot disconnect his background from, he was a special agent for the FBI, which in interviews since ours, this is the jump he makes. I was an English major, and then I was an English teacher at a prep school, and then I ended up in the FBI. That's a big jump. That's a big jump.
Yes.
To go from that and not explain, how did you go from being an English teacher at a very selective, progressive private college to teaching at a prep school to then being in the FBI and then eventually becoming a contractor for the intelligence community, which he's admitted more than once on a few different interviews.
Did he say he started off as an author, you guys? I'm trying to remember. I swear I
can't remember when he started in journal. I thought he started in journalism.
Journalism, that was it.
He did journalism.
Yeah, but again, my bigger point was that.
No, Joe, I get it, JJ. You're good.
And then
I just wanted to make sure.
And then I ended up as in the FBI, right?
Big point. Yeah.
Who was the one that gave Kohberger the tip of Kohberger? It was the FBI. Right? Who do I think Kohberger may have been working in tandem with?
The FBI.
The feds. Now, I never explicitly said the FBI.
Yes.
I always said
right. Could have been CIA, could have been NSA.
I said
federal
either
agency
for or with the feds.
Right.
I never said he's an FBI agent. I said for or with the feds. And if I ever said FBI, I meant for
federal
or
agency.
with somebody. Right. So he gets this information. This is Chris's words.
I'll be right back, guys.
His friend came to him and said, hey, check out this case. See what you think about it. Well, who would want the narrative to be shifted away from a major corruption type thing as that's a cover up? Well, people involved in that, either directly or indirectly. Right. So I'm always going to look at that because that has been my theory for a long time. So somebody with Chris's background who has connections to Idaho, right? Who also, what was the Ruby Ridge stand down about? It was a separatist group.
Right.
Who are some of the big rumors related to in the Idaho 4 case? I don't need to say it. Everybody knows, right? What groups have people discussed as potentially being involved? Right. So if in fact somebody who knows a lot about that environment was to be, somehow getting involved to steer a narrative away from certain other narratives, of which he did explicitly say, no, I saw no evidence of drugs being involved, right? It would be somebody who's already an expert on that world, right?
Makes sense.
Then you have to look again at what I perceived as the way somebody responds to certain things and shifts things. If I didn't feel this, I wouldn't say it. I'm not.
I think we need to explore. I think we need to explore your questions. But real quick, Dago, I want you to check the private chat and answer that real quick if you can. But yeah, I want you to explore those things. I think this is a great time to do this. I mean, one of the things I think that our channel does is we play devil's advocates with every position. So we're not going to roll over and say, oh well, this is 100% true. Let's question it. What if he was trying to shape the narrative? What would that look like?
Yeah.
So those questions are stuff that we want to dive into tonight, especially for sure.
Like JJ, I have a big thing going. What you're saying, besides from the glaring, obviously everyone hears the scream right at 2:27 or whatever it is. We've talked about so many times too, and again, like listening to the words that, like trying to really look at some of the stuff that he said. So he says that he has the text messages and stuff. Like I asked him about, the 911 delay and Dylan and Bethany, and he really wouldn't get into it. He's like, these are college kids and all this stuff, and the college kids are involved in a bunch of things, and fine, I get that. We're not looking to shame people. However, anyone who knows anything about crimes, right, or looking at like what we are, we're a true crime channel, right? You have to look at the 40. I spoke about this offline.
I don't know. Are we true crime or are we a music channel? I'm not sure.
Right. You look at, they have shows named after it. The last 48 hours, the last 48 hours, the last 24
critical.
hours are critical times. So when you tell me that, he also made reference, and I could have asked him like 100 questions, but again, like JJ said, it was being respectful. He says that he knows of 3 fights that happened in the area that night. Yeah. Well, who was involved in those fights?
Right.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Why is it not important to know? We should know about those fights.
Right. Were any of the victims involved in those fights? I don't want to just hear it's not relevant. It's absolutely relevant. And and text messages, Kaylee, we see her on her phone the whole night at the club, right? At the truck. She's on her phone texting the whole time.
Real quick.
And then
real quick, I want to say Jason Estes is in the house. He used to be a regular part of our panel. I think this is in Jason Estes' like wheelhouse. I would like to maybe invite him to come up and join us on stage. So I'm going to put a link out there for Jason Estes to join us. I know that Like, not everybody agrees with Justin Esty's point, but if there's any night, Friday night, when we're challenging the official narrative, that might be a good night for him to join us on screen. So I'll send the invite out for you, Esty's Crime Maze, if you want to come up on screen with us. But anyways, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, so that's okay. So just to go along like what JJ's saying, although I know it's a little bit later, we now know that Jack, from the info we got, to me, is also an equal bombshell of the hair or whatever that was found in Ethan's hand and other stuff. We know that Jack D he called Kaylee for 17 minutes. It's not that Kaylee called him; he called Kaylee. That's a huge difference.
And it's a little thing that goes unnoticed by a lot of people. Like if Jack initiated the call. I mean, look, he's going to argue. I almost guarantee you, he's going to argue, oh, it was a butt dial, right? I must have accidentally rolled over in my sleep and placed a call to Kaylee, and she must have sat it on the phone for 17 minutes waiting for me to answer, but I didn't answer because I was hammered. I guarantee you that's what the cover is going to be.
Yeah, but you tell me, okay, do butt dials happen with stuff? Sure. I've had family members sometimes, maybe they put the phone in their pocket, but like, Robin, if I butt dialed Robin, right? I pressed the button and I tried, and I called her, and I'm just sitting on like it was an accident. I didn't mean to call her. She's not going to sit on the phone for 17 minutes, waiting for me to answer. Just like it's ridiculous.
I'll give you like 30 seconds or so, and then sorry.
And then again, all the other thing I got to add real quick. Whatever, I always get the time wrong. 2:54, I know it was like mid 250s there. Again, Kaylee and Maddie's phone go dark. To me, that is when I'm not saying they were killed then. Then I'm not saying maybe they weren't killed then, but whatever happened with Kaylee and Maddie started at that time period. At that,
let's think about that. Let's talk about that as a group for a minute. So there's a 17-minute call that seems to be registered. Now, we can't guarantee for sure that Kaylee and Jack talk to each other, but there's a 17-minute call. Is it a FaceTime call that takes place, right, for 17 minutes? And then it seems to us, frantic calls, text messages and stuff between Kaylee and Maddie, both trying to reach Jack Jacour, that is not answered. You have to think that something just happened. Some kind of conversation. Look, logic dictates something just happened and it didn't go real well on that call. And then they start texting and both Kaylee and Maddie are frantically calling, and then it just dies.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, as soon as they hang up the 17-minute call, within a minute, she's dialing him back immediately. 1 minute after the next call.
And then why does it die? No. Why does it die? Why do they stop that?
Right.
Because if she's still awake, if at 4 o'clock in the morning, she's still dancing with her dog, as Dylan says, and dancing around. So she's still awake. Why did she stop the frantic calls to Jack?
And then the phone goes dark completely. That's a problem.
Yep. Yeah.
Keep in
That's
mind
what I'm saying.
that FaceTime calls are typically a video call.
Yeah. Let's get this correct. Let's get this correct. Joanne wants to know.
FaceTime calls are video calls. So
yes, they are video.
Was this a video call or was it only audio? Do we know that?
The FaceTime, the 17-minute call, did it happen before or after the frantic text messages? That's right.
Before.
It happened before.
That's right.
Before.
It makes you think that a video call happened between the two of them. Something fucking went wrong, and then they frantically tried to smooth shit over. Like, he probably hung up after 7. Look, I'm guessing a 17-minute FaceTime call happens. It's a video call. They had a heated exchange. He's pissed off. Maybe he makes a threat, and he hangs up. And then Maddie and Kaylee start frantically texting. Hold on, talk to me. Pick up the phone again. Let's talk this out. But I mean, maybe I'm jumping at conclusions.
Look,
but that's what it
TA,
looks like.
Before I have to go pee, but I wanted to add something. Hey, Maddie, what did you say to Adam? Right? Adam is his roommate, correct?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yes, correct.
So that whole Maddie, what did you say to Adam thing has been swept under the rug like it's not important. I mean,
I agree.
It's pretty damn important. And that would I'm just saying, logically speaking, is what prompted the call.
Thank you. So go drain the lizard. Let me talk about this for a minute. So this is the problem I have. Did we all make too much? Have we all been obsessed too much with the, hey, Maddie, what did you tell Adam? I told him everything. And then Showalter allegedly saying they're going to get you for that, or they're going to get you for that, Maddie. Did we all make too much of that? Were we reading in, like, did we make up what was said because it was broken audio? And so the $1 million question, because here's the bottom line, what I'm trying to get to. How did law enforcement not want to know exactly what the fuck they were talking about? How did they not want to know what it was that Maddie told Adam? Or why Jack Showalter, if he did say it, said they're going to get you for that? And then shortly after that, the whole fucking house was murdered except for 2 people.
Exactly.
You don't think law enforcement needs to know what she told Adam and why Jack Showalter said they're going to get you for that?
Absolutely.
And then the murders happened?
Right.
They had to have
It goes to
asked.
victimology.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
they do know.
Absolutely.
They do know.
Yeah.
There's no way they're not going to know.
Why do we not know? Why do we not know what Maddie told Adam? Why 3 years later do we not know what she told Adam? Why didn't they just say, hey, by the way, it was a no, never mind. She just told him about, why do we fucking still not know the answer? Why is it not in any of the court documents that have been released, any of the FOIA requests or public records requests? Why do we not know what happened?
Right.
Why didn't any officer ask? What did Maddie tell Adam that night?
It's huge. The interviews. Yeah, there's nothing.
It's enormous.
No questions, nothing. Yep.
Can I just respond to something I saw in the chat?
No, fuck you. Just kidding.
Somebody said, like, somebody said that, Chris in Birdie's interview, he said it because of his sources, there's things he can't say. That is not my contention at all. That would make sense. But there are a few things where there was disparity between things that were in the book and how he responded to questions, like the OnlyFans thing.
Yes.
It straight up says in the book that Maddie had an OnlyFans.
Yes.
Period.
Yes, it did.
Right? It's in there.
On Instagram, she had a statement for my 18 plus content. See my OnlyFans.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So when he was asked about that, I can't remember if it was here or Birdie. He said he completely shut it down. That and the drug angle.
He said he said he didn't say it. He said that he was going by like what someone had said.
Yeah, but he's putting it in his book, of which is supposed to be information that he had access to that other people didn't.
Right.
To be fair, out of a 350-page book, it was like one line about Maddie's OnlyFans. But yes,
but that is a big
it's in there
thing.
It is a big deal. I agree.
Because
it's a big deal. But
that would open up a whole other line of inquiry. Why were they hiding that? Because if you were really investigating it and you were looking for the public's help, if other people knew information about that OnlyFans, they could have said, yeah, there was some creepy guys that were responding to, communicating with her on OnlyFans, right? Why would you shut down that line of inquiry in a quadruple homicide, right? So it's things like that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it wouldn't be logical that he can't say everything because of sources. Right. I get that. I'm not overlooking those things, but it's I have many other examples, but I just wanted to address a comment I saw in the chat about that.
Real quick, before I go drain the lizard, let's talk about Brenda Tanner's question, because this has been coming up a lot. Christopher Whitcomb was involved in Ruby Ridge. For those of you who don't know Ruby Ridge, this was an individual who was a white supremacist type person in Idaho, who there was a standoff, and I believe that his brother, and his wife holding a baby were shot and killed in that standoff. Christopher Whitcomb admitted that he was a sniper and he was at Ruby Ridge. Some people think Christopher Whitcomb was the one that shot the wife and that was holding the baby. And so there's people who are like shitting all over Christopher Whitcomb. This guy's a piece of shit. He's the one that shot fucking, what was his wife's name? Weaver's name. Fuck, I can't remember. Anyways, so there's some people who think that he was the actual sniper that took out the wife, holding a baby. What a piece of shit he is. Then you've got Waco, right? Christopher Whitcomb even said on our interview, look, I was in the American Apocalypse documentary about Waco. I was there at Waco. I was a sniper at Waco. And he was interviewed there. So some of you in the community are saying this guy, Christopher Whitcomb, is a piece of shit. He's been involved in two of the biggest embarrassments of our country, where the government has went in and killed innocent people, burned down the Waco complex and killed David Koresh and his entire complex with women and children. And he was there. He was at Waco. And a woman carrying her baby was killed for no reason. And maybe he was the sniper. So while I go step away for a second, I will be listening on the earpiece. I want to ask you guys, is that fair to question Christopher Whitcomb in his history of being in some of America's biggest embarrassments? Waco, Ruby Ridge. What do you guys think?
Yes, it's fair.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people have said, and
I mean, he might,
agree.
Right. He might not talk about it, but it's definitely something to bring up. Absolutely.
He brought it up. I mean, he did address it
a little bit. Yeah.
Right. And again, Dago, what do you think?
As far as what, sir?
That it should be questioned in the way that we're questioning it.
I fully agree it should be. I do.
Robin,
I
do you think so as well?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I don't see the problem is I get it. It's very hard to separate people addressing particular things without thinking they are attacking the person as an individual, right? He had a job to do.
You can question without attacking, and that's what we're doing. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
That we should
Absolutely,
question
JJ.
everything. I don't care who puts it out. Like I said before.
That's right.
Sorry,
That's right.
Robin. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Exactly.
No, that's okay.
And the thing is, that might sound weird while you were questioning him, but he was doing his job in these instances, right? You can be against the way that someone's, job has impacted the course of their life, and maybe things happen in the course of that, right? You have to be he said himself, I believe in truth and justice and free speech and all these things. So you can't say that publicly without being willing to accept people, bringing up these things that are relevant to those things, to freedom of speech, to these different things that have. Now, I have some pretty evolved theories about this all, which I don't think I should get into tonight, but it's not like I just came up with these ideas with no logic behind it. I workshopped it today with DA. It's for a while. We talked for like over an hour.
We spoke for 3 hours, JJ. We spoke for 3 hours.
All right, 3 hours. So we went into very detailed stuff, back and forth. I didn't just like come up with something and had no basis for it. And we threw around some other theories too, which I definitely think we should bring up the one tonight about the Nunez stuff.
Yes, I would love to do that. I would love to talk about Officer Nunez and his early statement. This was a murder suicide. Look, JJ and I talked about this at length, and it was funny because JJ convinced me for the first time to reconsider how is it that Officer Nunez so quickly, upon his initial looking at the scene of the room with Ethan and Xana, said this is probably a murder suicide. Now think about this for a second. If Ethan was hacked up and had cuts across his leg and defensive wounds showing he got attacked on one side, rolled over on the other side, ripped somebody's hair out of their head, and whatever, how the fuck do you look at that in any way, shape, or form and say, oh, that looks like a murder suicide? Like, it looks like Ethan was in combat with somebody, but he was covered up by a blanket, so they didn't see all the cuts on Ethan. And JJ made me think outside the box a little bit. I've been super reluctant to say that any gun was used in the commission, but I just want to ask you this question: if a gun was used in the commission and Ethan was shot in the head, for example, would an officer be guessing if you see somebody with a head wound from a gunshot, he's a person laying in bloody pool on the ground, it's a murder-suicide. He killed his girlfriend and he shot himself afterwards. Did that happen? Let's talk about that a little bit.
An interesting question.
Well, one of the things, just to clarify that, because before we all expand on it, one of the things that I said about that is, and this is just a hypothesis on this specific thing, nobody would go there, even a rookie police officer, and see somebody who's cut up with a knife or an edged weapon, right? That's covered, and determine quickly that it was a suicide, unless they had something like, for example, a gunshot wound, that, because nobody can kill themselves and then cover themselves. So it would imply that the covering obviously was done by the killers or somebody else Now, here's my theory, and then you guys can all talk about it. If attacks were happening and Ethan, if there was more than one perpetrator and Ethan is fighting with somebody that's got either a knife or a hatchet or some edged weapon, and they're fighting, and then the other person comes down and sees the fight or hears it and comes in, and they need to neutralize this. They may not have planned to use a gun because they didn't want to make the sound to draw attention to it. They shoot Ethan, right? And now he's neutralized. Then he's covered up after the fact, whether it's by the perpetrators or whoever did the cleanup. Okay, that would bring up the idea that Ethan killed himself, right? Because they come in
depending on where the gunshot wound would be, of course, absolutely, JJ.
Right, and so that brings into question the whole big boom and the flash, and also what would possibly indicate that somebody committed suicide pretty quickly. He came up with that assessment. And so that is just something that we discussed. He would have to have a reason to come up with that.
And it's not the reason he gives to Warner. When Warner says, "How did you get there?" He says, "I don't know. I just saw the blood." That's not a good reason to make that.
And to be fair, I want to make it clear. While I loved JJ, like for the first time, like I want to be clear for people who think that I've lost my marbles. I want to be clear. I never thought a gun was used in the commission of this crime. I've always pushed back on the whole gun rack guy thing in the first place. That sound had to be the racking of a gun, and a gun was used in this commission, and that's what Bethany heard was a firecracker was actually a gunfire in the flash. I get why everybody says that, but I've never felt in my gut that was the case. But again, when JJ said, well, then why did Officer Nunez jump to the conclusion murder-suicide? And I thought, well, if it did look like he had been shot, then you would think murder-suicide, and that would be, but like you said, somebody asked him, how did you get there? Like, how did you jump to murder-suicide? And all the blood isn't a good enough explanation, in my opinion.
It is not. No. I agree with that.
No.
So it's questions I have as well.
Even the way he said it to Warner, the way it's written, he kind of, like, I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to say. He kind of like delays with his answer with it. Excuse me. If you read it the way I did, there's kind of a bit of a delay, almost like he's like, oh my God, sorry guys, I got hiccups. Trying to figure out why he believes that. So
look, and I'm going to tell you something.
That's weird to me. Jesus.
You get those hiccups taken care of. You got to hold your breath. You got to count to like 10 while your breath is held. That shit will just go away.
And then I'll just pass out and fall over. There we go.
Well, there's that possibility. So look, I want to point out something. I'm going to point out a theory because it's Friday night. We're going to go a little conspiracy theory. We're going to go Friday night. Brett Payne is the one who found the knife sheath. Remember, multiple officers, Nunez, Warner, walked across that crime scene, body cam for a bit. According to the book, Broken Plea, you don't see the knife sheath when they're looking through the crime scene. They're literally 18 inches away from where the knife sheath would be. And neither one of them mentioned a fucking thing like, hey, look, there's a knife sheath in the bed. Like, neither one of them see it, commented, whatever.
Nor report it.
Indicating the possibility that knife sheath wasn't there then. Then Brett Payne comes in 4 hours later, and suddenly he discovers the knife sheath that everybody else had fucking missed at the crime scene. Now hear me out. I'm going to go conspiracy theory for a second. When Bill Thompson and his team walked into that crime scene, there was a good 4 hours where that scene was shut down. The coroner wasn't in the scene. Nobody else was in the scene. Bill Thompson and his team were looking through and deciding what happened in that crime scene and how they're going to prosecute it. You have to wonder if you were if you were a conspiracy theorist, and that's what we're doing. We're playing devil's advocates. Did the prosecution decide during those 4 hours what we're going to go with? Okay, here's what we're going to go with. Now let me break this down for you a second. Let me go full conspiracy theory. If Bill Thompson knew exactly what happened, let's say it was something like a drug hit on the house and their CI got hit. We can go through all that if you want to. Maybe we don't have enough time tonight. But if it was a drug hit on the house because a CI was there and the police were supposed to be watching that house, but they failed to let the house get hit right under their nose. And that's embarrassment. And if it is possible that there's no way they can get out to the public that it was a CI that got hit in the house, then did the prosecution go in and say, look, this can't go down as what it was, which was was one of our CIs got hit, right, and this whole house got wiped out. So we got 4 hours to figure out what it is. Let's fucking bring a knife sheath in and say it was just a crazy person that came in and killed everybody in the middle of the night. Is there any part of you as a panel that accepts that maybe that maybe Brett Payne could have come in as the person to bring the knife sheath and say, this is the scene we're going with. It's a crazy killer. That's how it happened.
Yeah, I gotta add in. Yeah. This is where I gotta jump in quick and I gotta tell you about Turvey. So, Turvey, I'll just plug it now. He has a channel, the Forensic Criminology Institute. He's got like a 10 or 12 part series. It's called The Hard Truth. Lana showed some of it. He actually has a whole episode on staging. I haven't watched every episode. I highly suggest. Turvey he's really brilliant guy. You got to hear some of the stuff. He's really a specialist, not just on forensic stuff, but on crime scene staging. And he actually says that 25% of staging, when it comes to be that a crime scene is staged or manipulated, that it's actually law enforcement. It's actually the cops that stage the scene.
Right. I'm glad you said that. Like
that's a high, and that's a high amount. 25% of
very high.
So for those of you who are new to this show, 1-1 is actually NYPD. We keep his identity hidden because he does not speak for NYPD. His opinions are his own. Right. But for those of you who don't know, this guy's got a 20+ year career in NYPD. He knows what crime scenes look like. He knows what's feasible and what's realistic. And he's telling you a staged crime scene staged by the cops is not outside of the realm of possibility. That's coming from a fucking NYPD captain. Listen when he talks. Now listen. So what he's telling you. As I'm sorry, 1-1. I just want to add one more thing. So is it possible? Because Turvey said the common room has signs of a cleanup. Things were wiped down. Is there any part of you that imagines the possibility that cops, along with the prosecutor, sat there for 4 hours and said, what are we going to go with? We know what this was. This was a drug hit. We can't fucking let that get out because this is an embarrassment to the university. It's an embarrassment to the cops that were supposed to be watching the house that night, and let the hit go down right over. So here's what we're going to go with. It was a lone killer. Let's wipe down some walls. Let's clean some shit up. Let's stage this in a way that looks like it was a fucking lone psychopath that came in.
Yeah.
Is that outside the realm of human possibility, or is it actually possible?
No, I think it's a very strong possibility. And I think that's also goes along with why the house was torn down. It's not just like everyone's looking at it like, oh, we don't want what happened to come out, but it's more than that. It's that the staging was done, and probably I'd say they probably about 90% of that what was in that house was not even tested. Was all kinds of stuff. They wanted that house gone as fast as they could.
And I had asked him about that.
I just want to go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I had asked him about that, and that I will say, Chris, that was probably my big thing was the answer that was given about, well, they wanted it back eventually.
Yeah.
No, and I think the only reason
I think it's more than that. I think it's
the
more.
answer. Fell a little flat. The answer fell a little flat. Yeah.
When I think the only reason, I only think Ann Taylor it was okay with it was because she felt that they had enough of the unknown DNA, I guess. But what a horrible mistake to agree with that. There was so much of that.
Yeah.
There's so much of that scene that was not processed. I guarantee it.
They choked out the invest. I think they choked. I agree with him because I think that, and I even when Lana joined us on the verdict room this Saturday, she did. I blatantly asked her, Lana, who do you think did the cleanup? Who did this, that? She flat out said, I believe the cleanup was done by the police, by law enforcement, 100%. Period. That's what she said, and I'm like, well,
Dago.
I want to wait, DA. Let me just add to that because I was just going to comment on that.
Yeah.
Well, there's more, but go ahead.
Well, sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
No. There was just a little bit more because, and I immediately thought, and I had been thinking like, and I even said this to one, who is the best person to clean up a crime scene, to hide things? Law enforcement. They know exactly what to fucking look for, what not to, what should be there, what shouldn't be there. They know exactly what they should be looking for as they're cleaning it. So that's all I was going to add to it, JJ. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just saw DA was about to jump in, and I just wanted to add one little thing. If a police officer was at the house right after the crimes were committed, they wouldn't want that to get out.
No.
If they were trying to not let that be known that had happened.
Sure.
So that goes kind of a piggyback on what we were all talking about, like why they would want to do that.
100%. Yes, Lucy, that's what I mean. Using their knowledge in law enforcement to clean the crime scene. And if you think about what Chris said, the way the spatter was on the walls, how it come down to like the crown molding. Jesus, I can't talk. Crown molding where the floor and the wall meet. It goes to that point, but there's not a damn bit of blood on that floor. There's no way that's possible. So you have to be pretty good at what you're doing and look for what you're looking for and know what you're looking for to do that, in my opinion.
And let me be clear when I say this, because we're not anti law enforcement in this show.
Obviously not.
We're anti bad.
I am.
Right.
I'm anti.
No, I know you, sir. Look, you're one of the good guys. We're not anti law enforcement. We're anti bad cops, right? And you can even argue that they aren't even necessarily bad cops, because if they think they're doing the right thing, maybe some things got some corners got cut and some things got done because they thought that in the end it was the right thing to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were bad people. But look, there's a really strong argument to be made that scene was staged not by the killers, because here's the thing: the book makes it pretty clear. In my opinion, the book makes it pretty clear there was a cleanup effort in the main common room. No cleanup effort in either of the kill rooms, but definitely a cleanup effort made in the common room. And the question is, was that the killers that did the cleanup, or was it the police? And remember, when you think about that question, Brett Payne had evidence renumbered. Things had been renumbered. About 6 to 8 different pieces of evidence were renumbered when Payne came into the scene. So you have to ask yourself, is there a reason? And yes, Estes Crime Maze, if you're willing to come on, I'll send you the link in the chat. You can grab on and come up with.
I had two other.
I already put it in the chat.
To throw in.
All right.
Yeah, I got two other things. Again, I highly recommend people watch that Hard Truth thing by Turvey. He makes about staging crime scenes that are staged. One of the big things is I saw someone mention that one of the rooms was trashed. That's a common thing that happens. And another thing that he brings up, you'll see a lot of scenes, and this happens a lot with like husbands or wives that say like, oh, an intruder came in. It's a stranger. An intruder came in through whatever window and whatever. And what do we have in this case? Brian BK has no connection, right?
None. They couldn't find a connection. They never could find a connection.
He's a stranger. So it really, like,
stranger danger.
I implore everyone to watch his video on the staging. Almost all the check boxes get checked. that this whole thing has
And
been
look,
staged.
Let me be clear. I'm not saying law enforcement staged the scene or cleaned up the scene. What I'm saying is we would be remiss not to consider that's a possibility. We would be remiss to not consider the possibility that law enforcement themselves had an embarrassment on their on their hands with that house being hit. If it was something that they were watching the house, and I think even Steve Gonzalez hinted at it. If they had been doing their job and watching the house, this wouldn't have happened. What is that? Do you remember him saying something to that effect? If they had been watching the house, this wouldn't have happened. Were they supposed to be watching the house? Did Steve Gonzalez know they were supposed to be watching the house? Did it happen right under their nose?
Is that truly what Tesdale and Rosenthal were doing that night? Was that the actuality of their job?
Their job was to watch the house. They were parked. They were parked on Taylor Avenue with a direct view of that house. That's not a coincidence, in my opinion.
Right.
They were watching 1122 King Road residents from Linda Lane, from Taylor Avenue. They were watching that house. And did they fuck up? Did they not catch what was happening? Estes Crime Maze, by the way, is backstage. We're going to bring him up in just a second.
They were circling that area like all night too, Lee. So, I mean, what are you circling for in that specific spot? If you're looking for underage drinkers, people that are drinking in public, whatever the hell it is, why are you not going other places? You're staying in that one specific 2-block area circling the whole night.
And why is your partner out of the car? Why is Tesdale and Rosenthal separated and they're texting each other about being out of the car? Where was your partner?
Thank you.
And Ann Taylor knew it. Ann Taylor knew this. That's why she wanted the cell phone records.
100%. 100%. I agree with that.
She knew it.
Let's bring up Estes. Estes, you're a little cut off at the top of your camera there. You got a little bit of the eyeballs. It's been a long time since we've seen you. How you doing, Jason Estes?
Hello, beautiful people. That means Devil's Advocates, D.A. Lee, the beautiful, vivacious Robin, 1-1, Joe from Stay the Deep and Dago. Good evening, and it's great to finally be on your show. Thanks for inviting me on, and I love that you guys are bringing up surveillance, I think is the word, right? That's great.
For sure. I tonight being a conspiracy theory type of night, it was kind of right in your wheelhouse. So I thought since I saw you in the chat, I'd invite you to come impromptu come on the show. How's your thoughts? Have you been watching the whole show? Have you got any thoughts about what we're talking about tonight?
I haven't been. I should have been watching the entire show. Yeah, I have. Yeah, since 9 o'clock, this entire show. I feel bad that many episodes I've been out of the loop, as you know, not paying attention really to any true crime. I miss your show, so it's amazing to be on. But I did watch your interview with Christopher, most of that interview, not quite all of it. So it was very interesting, and I like a lot of the rebuttal that Joe brought up and asking some questions naturally about, a guest that comes on that has a book out, that has his background and some questions there. And I thought it was very fair. And again, I like you guys bringing up right now about surveillance, it looks like, of the cops, as we know, around that neighborhood. That's why I in part believe that maybe this never happened, as you know. So.
Yeah, and for those who are not familiar with Estes Crime Maze, Estes was on the show on a regular basis as a part of our panel, and he's been a big person that kind of pushes what I would call, Jason would not say this, but what I would call a little bit more of the extremist comment, which is that nobody actually died in that house. It's a witness extraction operation. There, I'll be fair. Like I've said before, it's a bit too much. I didn't go there, but we allowed Jason to entertain those ideas. And he still, to this day, I would think he still champions the idea that this whole thing was a witness extraction, that it was a big cover up. Why don't you share with us briefly your basis, your logic for why you think nobody actually died in the house and this was just a big witness extraction operation?
Wow, I didn't think I'd get. Oh, there goes my light. Just as you asked that important.
That's awesome. Like the FBI is cutting off your lights, sir. That guy. Don't let him talk.
You gotta talk to JJ's buddies.
I was just gonna say that's JJ again.
One of the bases is, guys, and I got to admit, Birdie was the first one that I know of to bring it up, and I talk about this in past videos on my channel. Is as you guys know, the U.S. Marshals, remember, moved all the so-called victims' boxes out, including Bethany and Dylan, right? The so-called survivors. So why do you have maybe one could maybe he has some speculation on this or facts behind this. You got U.S. Marshals moving this out. Even Bertie lives in a small town. He's never seen such a thing. And it says North American Relocation Services, my friends, right? And that company went down 24 to 48 hours later. So there, and then the other thing, as you guys know, I brought it up like a broken record, and I'm not the only one to bring it up, but I repeat it a lot. None of the the people that were interviewed in front of the house, nor on the 911 call, they never mentioned blood. And, you know, people will mention the photographs and this and that, but I think the first thing you would do if it was an extraction, as you know, would be to have fake photos and all that. So that can be explained. But again, North American Relocation Services, and the parent company, everyone, remember, was called SIRVA. SIRVA. Bertie found that out. They got a Schedule 48 DA, which allows them to work with the feds. Yes, they move refrigerators, you know, SIRVA, and they do all kinds of different moves, but they also have that Schedule 48 where they can work with the feds to move confidential informants, right? Government assets, but very few people look into that avenue. So when you look deep, I think there's a lot of valid questions about potentially these beautiful students are alive. And as Bertie and I agreed on his show, that's the best case scenario. When you guys agree, if that's true,
yeah,
you know, it's a positive.
Estes, I would say I do agree with you. The 911 staged call there that was done in my history, and Dago will say the same thing. Agreed. A lot of how you evaluate and a lot of how investigators figure out sometimes things that happen or people lying or try to reconstruct part of the crime scene is they go right to the 911 and how is someone reacting? How are they breathing? How are they talking? What are they saying? And you are absolutely right. In my experience, I've heard a lot of 911 calls. I've dealt with a lot of this stuff. Usually people will say, "Oh my God, there's so much blood. My friend's on the floor. I think he's unconscious, but I see so much blood." So you're right. Sure. You're absolutely right. There's no mention of blood, which is very highly suspicious to me. I can't.
But
I can't
also 11 and DA and everybody, and thank you 11 for that. As you know, if you recall, the interviews in front of the house. Remember Dago as well? The interviews. Did none of the kids mention blood? There was blood everywhere. Yeah. This massacre, right? Why you're not mentioning blood? Like, well, you wouldn't mention blood if it didn't happen. And I talked extensively about that in an interview with Ellie. We really went at the lack of blood talk, you know. But
it's always been a point of contention as we all know. And I you know, I've even challenged the fact where when Dylan said she, I don't even remember how she put it. She kind of jogged past and glanced over and saw Xana laying on the floor. I don't believe that she saw that from the angle she was at. So my opinion is that she went into the room or at least down the hallway to where you would see Xana if you said you saw her. And at that point, yes, truly, there's blood everywhere. You don't mention that to nobody. You don't mention that to Bethany when you go downstairs. You don't even say anything about Xana. There's blood all over the place. So I've always, how do you not do that? If there is blood in there, which we've seen these photographs, if that's true, there they are. You have to have spoken about this. That's my point.
I think all of us I would assume, it's assumption that we wouldn't be mentioning, you know, just the visceral reaction. Oh my God, you know, and these are your friends. And blood is everywhere.
Absolutely.
You know? And a delayed 911 call for 8 hours. I mean, we could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to jump in. What's up, ST?
Hi, Joe.
As you know, I'm not afraid of going down the conspiracy road.
No, you're not.
Right. And I don't think anybody would ever accuse me of that. Although one time someone in the chat told me I was going against conspiracy theories, which is
I laughed
funny.
at that. Yeah, shit. Yeah.
But I will say one of the things that ties in with my overarching theory, which is also an operation. My overarching theory is there's an operation. Now I always try to use logic, right? To look at things. If I can't address something with logic, then I'm not doing my job, right? Now,
Right.
if the surviving, that's just hypothetical, if the surviving roommates were given a narrative to push and they didn't want to say we saw blood all over the place, because then that would raise the question of the 8-hour delay. Well, if you saw blood, why did you wait 8 hours? So if in fact they saw what happened, in my opinion, there's no question. They knew exactly what happened. They saw the blood. They know. But but without getting into my theory too much, they had a contact person, in my opinion, that was related to things that were happening with that house specifically and an operation. And when shit went down, they called their contact way before the 911 call. And they were told, this is what we're going to say. This is what we're going to do. And they couldn't say in a 911 call 8 hours. It was probably more than 8 hours, right? Based on what we believe, if in fact what we believe happened. They would not say we saw blood everywhere, because then how would you explain waiting 8 hours to call 911? So that, I'm just saying, I don't rule anything out.
So on the Idaho 4, yeah, you can't. That's very interesting theory.
No, I agree. I agree, and this is why we still entertain all the theories, because it's just absolutely. This is one of the craziest fucking stories I've ever seen. I did want to address this real quick because I've had it pinned for forever. Micro.153. When we interviewed Christopher Whitcomb, and we talked, and somebody questioned him about the Marshals and Homeland Security. His response was, I've never heard about Homeland Security or Marshals being involved. Now, let me clarify that for a minute. I will say, we all have questioned. We have all said for the longest time the Cowboys were the Marshals. Their badges looked like Marshals. They and everybody had assumed that they're Marshals. Now, when we did, I'm just going to be fair. When I did some research into whether the Marshals were there, I couldn't find proof that the Marshals were there, and it did look like the local sheriffs had a badge that was similar. So, do we know definitively that that was Marshals or sheriffs? But for what it's worth, it has long been. Look, I would challenge Chris on this. We know that that Homeland Security was involved, because Homeland Security interviewed one of the people when they were out of the area at the time. So they were involved, at least in that perspective. So when Chris says, I've never heard anything about Homeland Security being involved, and I'm not calling Chris a liar. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that he may not understand that Homeland Security definitely, according to the record, actually did have an interview with them. Whether the Marshals were there or not, I'm not 100% sure. Are you convinced, Jason Estes, that was Marshals and not potentially even, like, in keeping an open mind? Is there any possibility in your mind that was the sheriffs and not the U.S. Marshals?
Well, you're the expert on this case, DA, in a lot of ways. So you've made me question now. Yeah, maybe there is a possibility it wasn't U.S. Marshals and it was sheriffs. I just assume the way U.S. Marshals operate, you know this better than me. You've talked about it briefly, the way they operate from county to county, involved in drugs relations, I can't even express myself properly there, sorry. But I think it most likely U.S. Marshals were involved if this was, like as Joe says, an operation. And I think they moved the boxes out, but you never know. Maybe it was sheriffs. Maybe we can verify that. That's something I think we should be able to verify that moving forward. But certainly you had, again, North American Relocation Services on the boxes. And never forget, the parent company, Serva, has a Schedule 48, works with the feds. I think it shows it was most likely an operation. I truly believe those beautiful students, I will always believe, unless somebody can show me otherwise, that they're alive,
I will tell you this,
Christopher, he's an interesting guy. He says he saw the autopsy. I don't believe that. I think Christopher's a nice guy overall, but I don't believe there was an autopsy done, because my theory says that they're alive. So I thought that was interesting.
So real quick, I know Dago's got his hand up. If you don't mind, let me just do a quick thing. So first of all, I do think Christopher did see the autopsy myself, but I will tell you this, to your credit, I will say it was odd when I was at the courthouse in Boise, Idaho. at the plea hearing and the sentencing hearing. And I think it was at the sentencing hearing, not at the plea hearing, but I think U.S. Marshals were there. Now,
you told me that.
Now,
awesome.
Granted, I looked it up online, and it said it's not uncommon for the marshals to provide extra security, to help with extra security during a high profile event. And of course, Idaho 4 is you can't get much more high profile than this case. So were the marshals there simply for extra security? Or as you say, were the marshals there because the marshals have always been involved in this case because Brian Koberger himself was being protected by the U.S. Marshals? It's a question to ask. I'll be fair with it. It's a question to ask.
Fully. And here's the thing, and again, with all due respect to Chris, when he was asked that statement, he basically put it out there, at least that's how I took it, was that he had not heard of any other agencies being involved besides ISP and MPD. I'm sorry. This was a multi-agency situation. I believe the marshals were there. I do believe that. I believe that the Latah County Sheriff's Department was involved. Moscow PD, the ISP, the Secret Service was involved. And remember one thing too, folks, that we always forget on this. A lot of people do, at least. There's a huge sticker laid right across the top of this. Okay? A huge sticker that relates right back to and Homeland Security. I'm sorry, I forgot that one, but there is national security taped right across the top of this. And I've always wanted to know why. That's a big, in everything, certain things that have been FOIA'd, the answer has come back that it can't be responded to due to national security issues.
Right.
Why? That's all I want to know is why, okay? Because it's not a normal, in my opinion. I've been watching true crime and following true crime and recording true crime for years, even without a computer. I used to be the goofy guy with the pen and the paper writing things down, okay? So why is there a national security tag on top of this that has affected it in different ways that nobody seems to understand? Sorry about that.
Right. If it's just a lone whatever nutbag out there doing this, why does that involve national security?
That has been a big question since we're doing this tonight. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I can bring this up because.
Oh, sorry.
God.
I was just wondering, maybe one knows or maybe he doesn't, but would nationals, I'll ask the rest of you on the panel, you amazing people, if it's witness protection, let's just say theoretically, this theory's right, extraction removal operation, the students are alive, they're living their best life, a low profile life, of course, not on social media. Would that cover would national security cover that? Would that be appropriate to label under, this huge cover up as national security? Because, you've extracted the students, they're in witness protection. I don't know exactly the answer to that, but I was just thinking.
Yeah,
what do you think, Joe, on that?
It would be. There's a couple of things. Again, I've said this a few times tonight. Most people know what my overarching theory is, that there was an operation that was already in place in that area, and that house was central to it. Now, I will say this: if there were CIs in that house, and again, I'm theorizing, we have information that suggests that there was.
Yeah.
Then, is there some kind of program in place whereby if the feds are attached to that operation, where they need to have marshals or something like that in place in case they have to extract people, and so they are in peripherally involved in that case, right? So that I'll say that, and then the last thing I'll say is, and I've said this for a long time, you guys are sick of hearing me say it. If there are national security implications and there is a operation involved, every single thing we've been told about the perpetrator, the witnesses, the suspects, this, that, the other peripheral people involved could be a lie because it's covered under national security and we can't release the real information because it might compromise, what do they say, sources and methods that deal with national security. And a CI type of program, which there is a lot of evidence that can support that, would qualify as a national security thing if any of the federal agencies were involved, whether it be an extraction, whether it be a CI operation related to drug activity, a surveillance operation that was going on that was already in place. Those things would all fall under in my opinion, based on what I know, the umbrella of national security. In fact, one of the documents we got as a response to a information request said CIs would be one of the things by which they wouldn't have to respond to the request. It was like national security, CIs. There was a couple of others. DA
I love it.
got a
And
response.
at the same time, they're trying to bust as part of that national security, perhaps, right? We all know, high-level gangbangers and cartel members, and we saw that play out, as you know, with the huge gang bust, a few months after Idaho 4 and before that, right?
Yeah.
It was in February. I covered that just last week again because of my theory on what happened with the whole thing.
Cool.
It was the video I showed, the Jesse James Bailey situation where I think it was the Sinaloa cartel and the area Knights come together and all that shit went down. So, and I wondered, is that where the national security thing comes from because of that situation, or is it something different? Sorry,
That's
go ahead.
interesting.
The $1 million question has to go when we're kind of on the conspiracy theory angle is if this had to do anything with the Sinaloa cartel, if it had anything to do with fentanyl running through the universities, if it had anything to do with the drug hit, why, unless you think it's a lie, was Kaylee Gonzalez considered by Dr. Turvey, a rage kill and an overkill, and obviously the target? That was his conclusion. She was a rage kill and overkill, and Maddie was posed with Kaylee. So now again, Estes would say, well, nobody actually died, so that whole thing's bullshit. But if you take for a moment that she did have more significant wounds, how does this factor into the drug cartel angle or anything to do with the drug hit, unless she was a CI and snitched on the trafficking of drugs? You guys have a thought as a panel?
Great question.
Well, what if she was the CI?
She could have been the CI, and would that have been the reason for the rage kill on Kaylee?
Let me throw something at the wall and see if it sticks real quick. Something I've thought about. So, let's say, purely hypothetical. What if Kaylee was the CI? We heard in an interview with Bethany or Dylan, I always get it confused, that she was at one point looking up RSOs in the neighborhood, and they found one down the street, whatever, so on and so forth.
Let's just say it like it is, Dago. Sexual offenders, right? Because I'm sure nobody misunderstands what you're talking about. Kaylee was
offenders,
sexual
registered
offenders,
sex offender.
looking
I'm sorry,
into predators, right?
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, registered sex offenders. My apologies. That she told, I can't remember which girl it is. I don't know why I get that confused, but one of the two, she told them she was looking up registered sex offenders in the area for her job. What if that's not what she was doing? That she just put that on as a cover for what she was doing because she didn't want anybody to know what she was doing? What if she was looking into something else or something to do with that, what we were just talking about per se? And that way they wouldn't suspect her of anything that may have been going on. I don't know. I'm just giving you a little theory here. So at that point, what if that was the case in turn? And that is where this come from. And as you were just saying, DA, the bodies were staged. We know that already, okay? The girls were positioned in the princess pose and the other things. They were made to look as though they were snuggling, or I think that's how it was stated. Yeah. That to me, and then there were the signature injuries that were on both the girls, 4 of them, if I'm correct. If I go by that
4 wounds, yeah, four wounds,
right. Injuries, wounds, yeah. I'm sorry. That are they sound to me between that, the posing, the staging? It sounds like a message to me. Okay, like somebody is trying to send a message with what you're looking at this point. So if you relate that to somebody, and I'm not saying I believe this is a professional hit from a cartel or something like that, because I don't think they would have done it like that. I think it would have been bing, bang, boom, you're done.
Before I forget, let me talk about the signature wounds. And I know this doesn't fit into Jason Estes' theory, and with all due respect, let me say this: if the girls did die, and if Kaylee and Maddie received signature wounds and they were both cuddled together and posed together by the killer to send a message, it makes you wonder if the rage was really against Steve Gonzalez. Because think about this. Steve has always treated Maddie as one of his own daughters. Many people say he talks more fondly about Maddie than he does Kaylee. So did somebody take out both of the girls that Steve Gonzalez would hold as his daughters, plural, and take them both out to send a message to Steve Gonzalez? Is there any part of us that thinks that this was a message to Steve?
Well, I just wanted to first comment on what Dago said, and then talk about the signature wounds. I believe that I have read in the past that one of the things that cartels do, and please correct me if I'm wrong or chime in if you've heard this too, when somebody snitches, that they slit the throat as like a symbol of a mouth, like somebody that talked.
Talking, right. Somebody that talked, yeah.
And I've read that. I've heard that. I know I've heard that. I can't verify if that's the real
it is
narrative or not. And so the rage part could be that it was somebody that was sending a message to others that in the area that this is what happens if you work with the authorities, right? And so that, to me, it could be, and this is, by the way, covers whomever they're trying to send a message to, right? It's whoever they're sending that message to, that could be symbolic of that. And they each had 2, I believe.
Yes.
Of those, right? So to me, that is a very specific thing, and you wouldn't do that overkill aspect unless you were trying to send a message. So
don't forget, JJ, too. I don't mean to interrupt you, but don't forget what I called to be the distancing that I pointed out between everybody that would normally be in that house, in that circle around those people. Convenience just was not there that night.
Yeah.
As if they were told, stay away. You know what I mean?
They went to bed early. Yeah.
8 o'clock at night in college, 20 years old. You're going to bed at 8, 9 o'clock at night.
After a game night too, right?
Yeah.
After a game. Yeah, right.
It's just very weird to me, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, now if I will address Mama D, I agree. Like when I hear signature wounds, to me that's meant for other people to know about it.
Yeah.
That this is what happens. And there may be, I don't know that world, because I haven't delved into that specific world that much. That could be something that's typical to signal others, like, we did this, right? Now,
right.
To touch on Este's point, and I'm just gonna, again, because I will go with logic if logic is there. I'll go with any theory if it has logic. Let's just go with Este's theory that it was an extraction. But you wanted to distract the public to start talking about things and amongst themselves, and then the online communities and message boards that, this was a drug kid or whatever. Then you would also state information that would lead people to believe it was something else in order to steer the narrative away from other things. So I can look at that. You know, I have sort of, based on a sort of like a aggregation of all the different information, I've shifted away from the extraction theory, not because I don't think it's possible or that that stuff happens. We know it happens. They wouldn't have a program in place if that stuff didn't happen. It's been happening for decades. Whatever the case is, my overarching theory is that there was an operation involved and that Brian Koberger was presented by the feds into the case as someone to facilitate covering up what really happened.
I want to address this comment for one of our members who've been members for 4 months. And Jason Estes, I apologize that we're not quite in your wheelhouse at the moment, but so is it a coincidence that Christopher Whitcomb was involved in Ruby Ridge? I will tell you this. The Ruby Ridge connection that's most interesting to me as a researcher is the white supremacist angle, right? So we have in this case Aryan Knights being possible as involved in this thing. Ruby Ridge was essentially, supposedly, a story of a white supremacist who kind of went sideways with the government, and there was a huge standoff on his property, and it resulted in the death of him and his brother and his wife. So I guess that's what you're asking when you ask this. Whit James asked this question: is there a coincidence that he was involved in Ruby Ridge? Well, if this has to do with Idaho white supremacy, then you start to ask yourself, well, is it a coincidence that Christopher Whitcomb was involved in Ruby Ridge, a white supremacist issue, and now he's involved in Idaho 4, white supremacist issue? I don't know. It's a long gap in time. Ruby Ridge was a long time ago. So is there a connection? I don't know. I mean, Estes, you haven't talked for a while. What do you think? I mean, I know. What do you think about that? Is there any kind of possible connection between, Christopher Whitcomb being involved in Waco, being involved with Ruby Ridge in particular, and now getting involved in writing a book about this case?
Yeah, but I don't know what to say about that other than I wish I had the privilege and honor myself to interview this guy and ask him some questions and hopefully conduct an interview half as good as you, DA, on this. But maybe I need to put out some more videos, get on back on my channel doing my thing. And I'm very thankful to be on, of course, the show tonight discussing these topics with you. But I just want to, if I may, DA, and address all of you, I like what Dago brought up about when he was bringing up Kaylee as a possible CI. Many of us have discussed this as well at different times on your show, I'm sure, DA. Remember that, and I know you guys all know this, you know the case in some respects better than me, of course, even. But Kaylee's phone was never returned, right? And the computer to the mother, at least her phone. So I think that goes back, wouldn't that point towards, her being a CI? And then, of course, the $1 million question is, what was she doing? What was her, as part of an operation, if that's what it was, what was she doing as a CI? What was her role? Did it, in fact, get them killed? I don't think it did, but I do think they were targeted. And I think there was a big cover up. And I truly believe that hopefully that they're alive. Yeah.
Let me riff off that a little bit. JJ and I were I don't know what we call it, think tanking, brainstorming, workshopping. I think workshopping is the way that JJ likes to talk about it. We said, look, let's assume for just a second that Kaylee was different than all the other victims and that she was the victim of a rage kill, of overkill. What would be the four, and I say four because that's what I broke down, the four logical reasons why she was a rage kill? The jealous ex-boyfriend, if I can't have you, nobody can, kind of thing, that decides to take her out. That's one. Two, a spurned male who she made fun of and said, look, you got a little dick. I slept with this guy. He's pathetic, whatever. And now he's pissed because his masculinity has been insulted.
Right.
Three, a jealous female. You think you're so pretty. You're this little sorority girl that everybody loves. You're so pretty. I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to mess up your face. You're not so pretty. I got one over on you. Or four, some kind of snitches get stitches scenario where she was a confidential informant and she said something. Of those four, I was asking JJ and I to start workshopping. What does all the evidence show us as, do any of the what we know about this case rule out being realistic, that it was a jealous ex-boyfriend, that it was a humiliated male who got humiliated, that it was a snitches kind of thing, or a jealous female? Is there anything that rules out any of those to you?
I think, if I may say, the fact that all four were, if you believe they were killed and or targeted, I don't believe the boyfriend, reason, logic, common sense, I don't think he could do that. Maybe you guys disagree. I think it would be very unlikely he could pull that off, that evil off. So I think it would, maybe the fourth one would be more applicable. If you guys want to, of course, say your piece after me, is the snitches with stitches, that expression. I think that is likely. They were a target of some gang bangers, unfortunately, hopefully, possibly. But I think the cops, what you guys said earlier, and Dago is referring to the surveillance with the cops around. I don't believe that operation could have been taken out, having the students killed under those U.S. Marshals and Sheriff's watch. I don't think it would have happened. That's why I think you have that extraction operation sort of pre-planned, and it was done.
One more thing I wanted to throw into the mix too that I just remembered, just sitting here right now. If Kaylee was the CI situation type thing, okay. I remembered hearing the Kyle Fry, I think it's pronounced Fry, the other Sigma Chi interview. They was just released.
Yeah.
No. His name is Kyle Fry. It's a newer.
Kyle.
Fry.
Kyle.
Yeah.
It's pronounced.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Fry or Frey, but it's pronounced or spelled Frei. So that's what I'm saying. So he makes a comment in the interview about going. He was supposedly Ethan's best friend, about being at the house for different things, and he says it more than once. That Kaylee, when she was at the house, if he was there, they were having parties. Kaylee would stay up in her room. She would never come downstairs and interact with them. And I just it just clicked with, like, it just made me wonder.
It's odd.
Is she staying like out of the mix because she's outgrown it, which is possible too, okay? Or is there something else to that? Is that why she was staying away and would not interact in those situations? And
do you have any feelings on that? May I ask Robin? You're the woman, of course. Maybe you can relate easier than us guys.
Well, it really just depends. Maybe there was someone there that she did not like, or maybe someone who was a little too attentive to her, and she didn't want to have to deal. As a woman myself, yes, I have had to deal with my share of that kind of thing. So you do tend to avoid situations where that person will either be there or could show up or whatever. So if that is true that she did stay upstairs, it could be as simple as that it was a situation she didn't want to see whoever. It could be that, or was there more of a reason that she would stay away from certain people? Maybe because, as we all know, when a lot of people pick up body language, was it to okay, if we're going to go down the CI route, was it because she wanted to make sure that no one realized who a potential handler, partner, whatever contact would be, if there was too much interaction between them?
I'm gonna throw a poll out because I gave you 4 theories before, and I'm gonna throw a poll out just to see what people think. And I don't know if Dago has time or wants to throw it on his side. The poll question is this: if Kaylee, that's if, so just we'll go with that for logic for the minute. You don't have to say that you do think it's Kaylee, but let's just go. If it was Kaylee, if Kaylee was the target of a rage kill, what was the motive? Option 1, jealous ex-boyfriend or lover. Option 2, humiliated male, i.e. the little dick thing. You got a little dick and I'm humiliated, so now you need to get fucking, whatever. The jealous female, you're so pretty, I'm going to fuck you up because you're not as pretty as you think you are. Or the snitches get stitches. That's my 4 options.
Give me the 4 options one more time.
Jealous ex-boyfriend or lover.
Okay.
A humiliated male. This guy's got a little dick. I slept with him and he's pathetic.
Okay.
Jealous female. You think you're so pretty, I'm going to take away your beauty because you humiliated me. You're not so fucking pretty, kind of thing.
And finally,
snitches get stitches. Some kind of drug thing where she talked and she said shit that she wasn't supposed to say.
And after you get the results, I wanted to give my comment about the different theories.
All right.
Don't mention the little dick theory again. That's ridiculous.
Let's fire that poll off.
And then we're off. Okay.
I mean, no man would commit murder being fucking mocked for having a little dick, right? That's not realistic.
I certainly hope not, man. Us men are in deep trouble if that's the case.
I think all men gauge themselves on their prowess that way, but let's see.
But not taking out on women murdering in a 6'4"
I don't know
if
you had a female cocking around town, but this guy's pathetic. Don't date this guy. He's fucking pathetic. I don't know.
And another thing too to take into account is that the night, it was the night of the party, if I'm correct, when they went to the corner club, her and Maddie, there was a very big deal made about the fact that her and Jack DeCour were no longer together. That was going on throughout the night.
Howard Bloom said she was there making it public to everyone that her and Jack were over and there was no chance of them getting back together. She was like humiliating him at the bar, and he was there that night.
add that into the mix of everything we've
Right.
talked about with this. I think it's kind of and then add that as they left the bar. Maddie, what did you say to Adam? I told him everything, and she sounded highly irritated. Meanwhile, she's texting incessantly the whole time. So
Yeah.
there's definitely, I think all of that, you throw that in a blender and hit that button, you have something there, I think, truly and honestly.
Yeah, I wish we could ask Steve G's wife, the lovely Christy Gonzalez. Does she know? I would think she knows. Who was your daughter texting? Ask her delicately this. Who was she texting? That night so much. I think it was in bed, most likely. But pardon?
I got the impression that Kaylee was pretty separated from her family. I'm not sure she was super close with either Christy or Steve.
Right.
Let's go ahead and end the poll. Are you ready to end? Are you ready to end the poll, Dago?
Yeah, 1 minute. Okay, yeah, go for it.
All right. So my results are the number one option that came in of those four was 54% came in as the overwhelming result. Snitches get stitches would be the reason why Kaylee got killed.
Same here.
Coming in number second and three, tied at 19%. Jealous ex-boyfriend or the jealous female, you're so pretty, I'm going to mess you up kind of thing. And coming in last place is the humiliated male of some kind. Hey, you're pathetic. And then the rage killer for that.
I got, if Kaylee was the target of a rage kill, what was the motive? Number one answer is snitches get stitches at 41%. Jealous female came in at 27%, number two.
Ooh.
Humiliated male came in at 19%, number three. And jealous ex was 13% at number four. So again,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Snitches get stitches. And I think a lot of people have felt that through this whole thing, that there was something there with that. You know what I mean? I mean, plausibly. Yeah. So, good poll in some aspect. I agree.
And
with
when
that.
when you think about Kaylee getting the brunt of the attack, you think it's because the obvious jump is somebody that was spurned by her, a lover or whatever. It's the jealous ex-boyfriend that would immediately come to your mind of. And again, you go back to O.J. Simpson and how bad Nicole Simpson got the attack, kind of thing. You think it has to be somebody who was just really slighted, but snitches get stitches is a really strong option.
I wanted to say about that. So I have to look at the totality of everything. And in my opinion, of all those things, first I'll go jealous ex-boyfriend or whatever, blown off male that she was involved with. I don't think that would facilitate a cover-up. Some random dude who was like a rage killing because he got embarrassed or humiliated, I don't think that would facilitate a cover-up. A jealous female, I don't think that would facilitate a cover-up. To me, the only one that would facilitate a cover-up, if they were covering up something that happened related to a CI because of operations that were going on in that area. To me, that's the only of those four. Now, I could tell you, DA and I talked about a bunch more that would facilitate a cover-up. But in this context, to me, overwhelmingly, that's the only one that would facilitate a cover-up, which I think we would all agree there was.
I do. And I know you want to talk one, so I apologize. Give me just a moment.
That's okay.
I agree, JJ. When we were talking over all the options, all of the things, jealous ex-boyfriend, even a theory we didn't talk about. Dylan was humiliated and daddy came in and had it taken care of because his daughter was humiliated and he fucked up people. Any of those theories, it makes no sense why the Moscow Police Department would involve themselves or the FBI would involve themselves in a global cover-up of this nature for a jealous ex-boyfriend. There's no reason, but if it has to do with snitches get stitches and you've got a task force, a drug task force that are looking for much bigger fish than these small fish in a house, then you could say there could be a cover up to hide what was the real intent of the murders. And I could see that as the only real option that involves the possibility of a cover up and people lying about what happened because it has to do with a much bigger drug task force.
Do you think 1-1? I have a question for 1-1.
Well, go ahead.
Thanks. If the if some cops, wait, what was the question I'm trying to ask here? Sorry, I think I can do it. Do you think as police officers that would we ever find out from them? Would any of them ever talk? And would we ever find out through the grapevine if in fact, as DA's alluded to, that maybe this was a cover up and the cops were, maybe they were embarrassed perhaps that it happened on their watch. I think DA said that in so many words and other people. If that's the case, would we ever know? Do you think any of the cops could talk and tell the truth of what as they see it?
Real quick, mods, put that last comment back up. I want to answer.
I don't think that happened personally.
When one gets done,
if it did,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, it definitely could, and I think like there's definitely strong possibility like the CI angle, but again, this was like I've stuff that I know that's happened at my job over the years. I definitely could see an angle there as well. It could be two things at one time as well. I do think there's something there between possibly Rosenthal and whatever, one of the girls. Doesn't necessarily have to be Kaylee. Right. It could be whatever, someone in that house, and they're cut, and they don't want anyone knowing that there was some kind of. I mean, think of how embarrassing it would be for the politicians, the police department, if someone there had some kind of relation. And there's all kinds of stuff, Lee kind of covered it a little bit. There's an extortion charge from Pennsylvania.
Right?
These guys, Kaylee. We know now. Kaylee and Maddie were doing stuff with OnlyFans. Is there some kind of weird extortion thing going on? Could be either from them blackmailing someone or someone kind of blackmailing them. There's all kinds of crazy.
Definitely, yeah.
It must be so easy for Nancy Grace and Ashley Banfield and all these people on mainstream media that say Brian Koberger did it. He's the guy, right? They don't get into our amazing conspiracy theories.
So I want to answer Myron UT2NF. Am I I'm trying to figure out if that means something. But anyways, Myron asked the question, and so I just want to briefly say this because other things have gone by. I think Ethan was banging Kaylee on the side, and Jack found out about it. In the book, in the book Broken Plea by Christopher Whitcomb, there was a brief, like one sentence that said at some point during the night, Ethan and Kaylee were on a couch together alone when nobody else was there. And then I asked the question, and this is a huge logic jump, but here's the thing. Listen to this. Kaylee came into town on Friday night. She had been out of town. She had been not staying at that house for weeks. She came back to that house Friday night. There was an argument that Kaylee was going to be moving to Texas, and this was kind of a coming back to hang out with her friends one last time before she moved away. There's indication that Jack DeCour, her former ex-boyfriend's vape pen, was left in her room, and the photographs show that vape pen was on the bedside next to the bed, on the side of the bed that her partner would have slept on. In other words, Kaylee was on one side of the bed, the vape pen's on the other side of the bed. Did Jack DeCour hook up with his ex-girlfriend on Friday night? Now follow the logic. If Kaylee Gonzalez comes in for her last fling in town, and she's looking to get laid and have some fun in her last weekend, she hooks up with Jack DeCour on Friday night. He leaves his vape pen there. She tells him later on, you can come back and get your vape pen. And then she hooks up for a booty call. Remember, Jack DeCour said, well, maybe Kaylee was trying to get a hold of me that night. I think she was just looking for a booty call. What if Kaylee was looking for some booty calls on her last weekend in town? And what if Jack DeCour turns her down? And then what if she goes out to the bar that night and she turns into an ex-boyfriend? That was another allegation. She had reached out to an ex-boyfriend that she was hooking up with, that she was sleeping with, and he turned her down. He said that he had another date for the night and he turned her down. She was hitting on other people at the bar. This is, by the way, not me just making conjecture. This is actually on the record that Kaylee was making advances and asking people to hook up for the night, and they were turning her down. Did Kaylee kind of go on a quest that night? Now the question comes up with this user. What if Kaylee hooked up with Ethan that night? What if she had been turned down by Jack? What if she had been turned down by an ex-boyfriend that she took up? And what if she just decided, I'm getting laid this weekend and I'll go to Ethan. I don't fucking care. Now, I'm not trying to besmirch Kaylee. I'm asking for a think tank. Was Kaylee trying to hook up with someone? And did she reach to Ethan to hook up? Is there any scenario in your mind that says that Kaylee got caught hooking up with Ethan in the bedroom, and Xana walked in on it, and that whole thing went to shit. Is that just completely?
I don't think so.
I'm not saying it is.
No,
I
don't.
Is there any part of it?
I don't think. I don't.
Well, and you remember Stacey Chapin came out like almost immediately and made sure she got in front of the whole love triangle thing and the drug thing and all that, and to push that out of the picture as quick as she could. So there, in turn, it could be one of two things. I don't believe that, but if it was, they were trying to get that out of the picture right away, in my opinion. So,
and for the record, I don't believe it either, but it's a question that came up in my mind. Like, if you follow the logic that Kaylee might have been coming back to have one last wild weekend and hooks up with her ex-boyfriend and maybe an ex-boyfriend and other guys at the bar, is any part of that murder involved with her activity that weekend to just have her sowing her last oats before heading on to Texas?
Doesn't the evidence show really that her real priority, I thought, that night was just hanging out with Maddie and having a good time, I thought. But
that's what her mother claimed, was that she wanted to take the new vehicle, show it to Maddie, and hang out with her friend one last time. That's how I took it, yeah.
And that's pretty precious. And Xana and Ethan, I think, had, by all accounts, what we know of anyway, a very solid and precious relationship themselves, right? So,
well, again, I bring up the question of why was that two little snippets of that really controversial text message dropped into the book that we never heard before, but
oh my God,
not addressed at all.
JJ, let me riff on that
huge.
for those who don't know. Chapter 9, I believe it was. There was a bunch of text messages that Christopher Whitcomb outlined in his book. Two crazy messages happened it happened early in the night, I think on the 12th, and then sometime early in the morning on the 13th. It was two messages from a woman named, or a contact named Erica. That's all it was listed. Yes. Erica. And it says simply, "You're being cheated on." This was sent to Ethan Chapin early in the night on the 12th, and then early in the morning on the 13th. You're being cheated on a second time. And I immediately went, who the fuck is Erica?
We've all said, who the fuck is Erica, right?
Who the fuck is Erica? And is him being cheated on have anything to do with this case? It's super interesting.
And he was asked about it. I don't know if it was on our show or another show. He was asked about Erica, and he said he has no idea. Like, this is where, like, I'm like, what the hell? Like, he said that he doesn't know who Erica is. Well, if you don't know who Erica is, and you said that you have the text messages of everyone, but you can't, you don't want to shame, not everything is relevant. Then why put it in?
Exactly.
Why put those? And then to me, that's shaping that. To me, that's like shaping a narrative. Exactly.
And then, at the beginning of this, in the first, you're good. At the beginning of this, the first chapter, they play to the point that Ethan was like their first suspect, like the very first suspect. So, what were they looking at and seeing that we haven't seen with this at that point in the beginning to make them say or even think that, for that matter? You know what I mean? Was there a whole thing that they saw?
Look, one could logically say that the killing started with Ethan. One could logically say that if you're a killer, are you not going to take out the big fucking 6 foot tall fucking athletic guy first? Right?
Yes, you would.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
So if it started with Ethan, and Ethan's getting a text message about you're being cheated on or whatever, how do you not know the answers to those questions? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that would also be a really tasty distraction, wouldn't it?
So Jen, it would. Jen S, you're right. You're right. To your logic, like, was that a distraction in the book? Lee, is it okay to give a spoiler? Yes. I just want to be respectful for those who have not read it. Yes, absolutely, Jen S. That book is out there in the public now. I realize, to be fair, some people haven't been shipped their copy of the book. Amazon hasn't shipped it yet. Barnes & Noble is selling it on the shelves. Lots of people have seen the book. At this point, it's open. The publisher has told us, go for it. The book's been leaked. We've lost containment. Jen S7 says, I get that Erica's confusion, but law enforcement never followed up on who that is, so I don't know. You're right. That's the problem. Yeah. How did law enforcement not want to know why he's being texted, you're being cheated on?
I don't think that's
included. And
I don't think that's the real name. I think that's another name that was used.
Totally agree.
Right.
In that interview, DA, I didn't watch again the entire interview yet with you and Christopher, but I guess I'm missing the biggest part of that interview is what was his justification as to how he got the right to go into the autopsy room and apparently see Ethan, he claims, a hair in his hand.
Well,
I think I was hearing him say. How the heck
Photograph.
did he do that?
I will explain that. I will explain that.
Sure.
Christopher says in the beginning of the book, he's a former FBI agent. He
I
said
heard
that people with desire for justice and truth and transparency have leaked to him information, and that he has seen the entire prosecution's discovery files. So he said it's a leak. He has insiders, maybe former colleagues, I don't know, who gave him the full discovery because they themselves said, Chris, you need to look at this case. This case is fucking wrong. This case went wrong somewhere. You need to look at this. So he claims in the beginning of the book, I have inside sources and I have been able to see the entire discovery. And so he says, I saw for myself the crime scene photos. I saw the photos of Ethan at autopsy. I've seen the wounds of them both in situ, meaning like when they found them, and also at autopsy. So now you could say he's lying. I don't think he's lying. I think he did see those things. I think he was leaked for whatever work. I think he got access to all those files and has seen it with himself. Now, the problem is because we can't verify it with receipts. We haven't seen it for ourselves. We have to take his word for it that that's what it really shows. But that's
thanks for that, DA. Because I guess that's why it's hard when you join in and partway in a conversation or interview and you don't see from beginning to end. Because for some reason I was visualizing, is he saying that he was in the autopsy room? That's what I was thinking he was saying. I'm thinking, no way.
He was given discovery. He was given the entire prosecution's discovery files.
Gotcha. What little I think he knows, if he's really being 100% honest, and some people might think I'm crazy on this, I stick to my theory. I think when he was saying Ann Taylor, was tried her best, and the prosecution and the cops, I think the defense were largely in on this cover-up. They tricked me for a while, but I think there was a lot of people involved on a cover-up, and they had their own reasons to do it. I'm not saying that they didn't have their own reasons, but so.
Wow, I completely lost track of time. We usually wrap up in 2 hours. We're 2:22 and we're fucking going strong. Yeah, go ahead.
I got something to show from backstage. I don't have to read the whole thing. I haven't read it. Cat's Mojo sent this to me in Discord.
Oh God, I hate that I have to fucking hold on. Stand by.
I don't even know what happened.
By the way, I just legally, I want to qualify when I say defense involved in the cover-up. Of course, I mean just covering up, certain aspects of this case, and it was a show trial, and I think they know the students are alive. That's all.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
So apparently, this is a new article that came out today with Brian Koberger's mother. So I don't know if you guys are able to read. I don't know if you could read can you read it? Okay. Or
well,
I can see it.
If I put my glasses on, I can read it better.
Okay.
He's my angel.
So that's how, you want to read?
Yeah.
He's my angel.
I'll read it. These were the words of Brian Koberger's mother used to describe her son after armed FBI agents stormed the family's home in the dead of night and arrested him for the murders of 4 students. My son would not do this. I will stake my life on it. It had been 47 days since Koberger fatally stabbed Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin in their off-campus home in the college town of Moscow, Idaho on November 13th, 2022, in a crime that shocked America and sparked a nationwide manhunt. While police were criticized for releasing little information behind the scenes, they had quietly homed in on the loner criminology PhD student at a nearby Washington State University who had since fled the state. God damn it. Anyways, and traveled 2000. He was fucking already scheduled to go back home with his family.
He went home. He didn't flee nothing.
Anyways, who had fled the state and traveled 2,500 miles across the country to his parents' home in rural Pennsylvania. In a stunning dawn raid on December 30th, 2022, agents stormed the family home and pulled mother of 3, Marianne Koberger, her husband Michael, and daughter Amanda from their beds as the killer was taken into custody. Now, Marianne's comments to law enforcement in the immediate aftermath of her son's arrest can be revealed for the first time by the Daily Mail, shedding new light on Kohberger's home life and the unusual close relationship with his mother. They came from transcripts and reports from Marianne's interviews with 3 FBI special agents that day and are set to be published in the upcoming book, Broken Plea. Oh, fuck! The explosive search for truth behind the Idaho 4 murders by Christopher Whitcomb. I didn't know that this was in the book, Broken Plea. I read the whole book. I don't remember this particular being called out. All right. With his parents staying silent in the 3+ years since that day, aside for 2 brief, carefully crafted written statements, the comments offer the first glimpse into Marianne's thoughts about her son's involvement in the murders. They reveal how a seemingly blindsided Marianne instantly insisted that her angel son could never, ever be a killer, and that there must be some sort of terrible mistake. What's going through my mind now is that this is a really, really bad mistake. What's going on, like what's happening here, she told agents, we know what our, who our children are, In the interview, the high school special needs assistant also offered up an innocent reason for why Kohberger had bought the knife used in the murders. In a stunning twist, she even suggested the purchase had been her idea. When her son moved to Albertsville and the Poconos in Pullman, Washington, that summer to enroll in WSU. Marianne recalled a conversation in which she suggested Brian obtain something to defend himself in the event of a bear attack while Brian hiked in Western USA, the FBI report read. The agents added that Marianne did not know that her son had purchased anything for this purpose and was unaware Brian specifically purchased a knife for this purpose. Kohberger bought a military K-bar knife and a brown leather sheath from Amazon in March of 2022, 8 months before the murders and 3 months before he left Washington. They were delivered to the family's Pennsylvania home. All right. While the knife itself has never been found, the sheath became the smoking gun in the investigation. In a frenzy of the massacre, Kohberger left the sheath behind. Allegedly, you motherfucker. You don't know that fucking happened. God damn it. Anyways, in the frenzy of the massacre, Kohberger left the sheath behind at the scene, and the DNA on the clasp came back to match him. No, it did not. I fucking will tell you.
Nope.
No, it did not.
That is not his DNA.
That is not his DNA.
No.
But anyways, fuck. Oh, damn, my head's going to explode. All right. During the December raid at the Kohberger home, Marianne, Michael, and Amanda were taken to the Pennsylvania State Police Fern Ridge Barracks in Blakesley to be interviewed separately while Kohberger was taken into custody on a warrant for murder. The couple's third child, Melissa, lives in New Jersey and was not present at the time. Marianne's comments to FBI Special Agent Jessica Mahoney, Matthew Mark Phillips, and Eric Bailey revealed her apparent lack of awareness for what her son was capable of, despite their close bond. When the agent asked if she had any concerns about behaviors that might indicate his involvement in the murders, Marianne was steadfast in her denial. Never, ever, ever, she said. There's a mistake. Something is wrong somewhere, and that's what I believe, and that's what I know in my heart. Marianne repeatedly denied her son's possible involvement and insisted her youngest child did not have any anger issues or hold grudges. To her, it was simple. He's my angel.
Horseshit article.
Wow. Of everyone in his life, Kohberger's mother confirmed that she was the person who spoke to and confided in the most. The pair would have mother and son talks, she said. By the way, Kohberger, fuck. All right, listen. Over 3,000 something text messages on Brian Kohberger's phone were analyzed, and every single one of them, except for about 8 or 9, according to the book Broken Plea by Christopher Whitcomb, were to his family. He was, unfortunately, if you want to say it, a mama's boy. Brian Kohberger loved his mama. He loves his family. All of his communication. He talked to his family daily. And yet the fucking media, I'm sorry I'm on a rant, the fucking media spun it on Brian Kohberger called his parents the day of the murder. Yeah, like he did every motherfucking day. He's a fucking mama's boy. He called his mom every day. I'm sorry I'm losing my mind. All right. He would speak mostly to me, she said, but would sometimes call his father and talk to his sister once in a while too. The Daily Mail previously revealed that Kohberger had an intensely close relationship with his mother, because he's a mama's boy. Anyways, calling her multiple times and speaking for her for hours on the phone every day. He named his parents mother and father in his phone contacts and addressed them as such in texts. And again, of the 3,000 something text messages on his phone, all but like 8 were to his parents, his family directly. That's me
cool.
adding some. His mom was his primary source of communication, and he spoke to her all the time, every day and night. Heather Barnett, a forensics expert who analyzed electronic devices for the state, told the Daily Mail. Calls from Kohberger to his parents would often begin as early as 4 a.m. Oh my God, Brian Kohberger called his parents at fucking early in the morning, like he fucking did every day. Every fucking day. This is what, I'm sorry.
He was alone at 3,000 miles away from people he had never spent his life away from. So what the hell do people expect?
Finish this article. It's outrageous.
I'm sorry I'm yelling so much. All right, let's calm the fuck down. Calls from Kohberger to his parents would often begin as early as 4 a.m. and would end very late at night. Kohberger called his mom just 2 hours after his killing spree at around 6 a.m. on November 13th, speaking for 36 minutes. Marianne does not appear to mention the call to the agents. Oh my God, that must be suspicious. All right, let's continue. You gotta scroll up because Rhonda's text message is covering up that screen. Thank you, Rhonda, by the way. I love you. All right. Despite being the person that he was closest to, Marianne's interview revealed there was a lot that she did not know. Am I going to get through this article or am I going to have an aneurysm? Kohberger's move to Washington that summer marked the first time that he had lived outside of the family home. As far as she was aware, he had adapted well to the move, seemed happy, and had been making friends, according to the transcript, though she didn't know the names of them, a lot of them. Oh, by the way, let me fucking remind you, Brian Kohberger didn't make any friends. He was a fucking incel. He was a loser. He had no friends. So I guess his mom was misinformed that he had friends. Anyways, in reality, Kohberger's time at Washington was tumultuous. At WSU, at least 13 formal complaints had been made against him by other students in criminology program, with classmates and professors describing him as sexist, creepy, and exhibiting stalker-like behavior. Bullshit. He was fired as I know. This is where our article turns, right? This is where they got to go back to shaping the narrative. He was fired as a teaching assistant and lost his PhD funding when he returned home for the holidays in mid-September. Wait a minute. Returned home for the holidays? I thought you fucking said he fled the state. Which one is
it? He was a fugitive. Make up your mind. Freaking bipolar. Fucking ass reporters.
I'm going to lose my mind. All right. Yet, when asked if there was any concerns about his time at WSU, Marianne told the agents there weren't, adding that he just finished the semester with a 3.8 grade point average. I'm adding the grade point average. Outside the classroom, he had struggled to interact with people and women. See, here comes the narrative shaping. Brian Kohberger had problems associating with women. Right. Yet when asked if there were any concerns about his time at WSU, Marianne told agents there weren't any, adding that he just finished the semester with 3.8. Okay, sorry, I read that. Outside the classroom, he had struggled to interact with people and women. This didn't come from his mom, by the way. This is their fucking narrative. Who encountered him later and described him as bizarre, socially awkward, creepy behavior. He doesn't have any girlfriends right now, Marianne said of possible romantic interest, adding that he had a couple, not a lot, in the past. He was not a party animal, not a drinker, but just a regular guy who liked running, being outdoors in nature, and she told the FBI. All right, let's continue on. God damn it, this is a long article.
It's almost done.
All right. When he returned home for the holidays, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, she said. Kohberger had been happy to see his family dog, Scout, who he called his Bubba, or Bleeben, and largely spent time with the family, she said. Marianne described her son as a homebody who doesn't have a big group of friends. Because he's a fucking incel and he has no friends. He touched base with one of his friends from Arizona, who's still in it. Oh, fuck, the Arizona thing. Don't get me started on Arizona. Fuck, we got to talk about that in some future video coming up. Arizona, anyways. But no, he's been mostly home with the family, just chilling, she said. She described her son as very organized and acknowledged that sometimes he was up at night, traits that would later track with the level of planning that went into his nightmare crimes. Oh, fuck, he's a late night guy. He must be a chiller. At another point, Marianne voiced concerns about the impending media coverage once news of Koberger's arrest would break. So now my son's face is going to be plastered all across the country? Based on her comments to the FBI, Marianne believed her son was innocent and that his arrest for the murders of 4 young students was nothing but a really weird, catastrophic mix-up. This is a nightmare. This is an absolute nightmare, she said at one point.
It is. It is a nightmare.
All right, we are almost done.
Yeah.
After fighting the charges from, I had no idea why we're getting into this long of an article, you son of a bitch. Anyways, after fighting the charges for more than 2 years, Koberger suddenly pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary in July, weeks before his capital murder trial was set to begin. And by the way, very shortly before the jury was starting to be selected. Under a plea deal, he avoided the death penalty. Gee, I wonder why you accepted the plea deal, because you avoided the death penalty and was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole, while also waiving all rights to appeal, which, by the way, is up right now for debate in the Supreme Court of the United States on whether or not a person can waive their rights to appeal when that's your constitutional right. Anyways, his parents, Marianne and Michael, attended the change of plea hearing, watched their son confess to the vicious crimes. 2 weeks later, Marianne was joined by Amanda at his sentencing. Michael and Melissa were absent. Since then, Marianne has maintained her public silence about her son's crimes. Her daughter, Melissa, the only family member to speak out, told the New York Times that their mother prays for the victims and their families every single day. All right. I'm going to have an aneurysm. Thank you, 1-1, for providing me a long-ass reading experiment. Let's put the rest of the panel back on screen.
That's nonsense.
Can you send that to me in Discord, 1-1?
Sure.
How many people will read that article, do you think? How many thousands of people, instead of being on your show, DA, even though you got a great audience and a lot of people, how many people do you think will
They
read
don't have
that
to.
article?
They don't have to.
On
He
your
read it.
show to
they'll
learn
have to
the
come here.
Western shake or Dave Diggle show.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Question,
I
please,
want
Mrs.
to.
No, I'm curious.
I just want to say something real quick here. Okay, if you are going to convict a man on how close he is with his mother, there's a lot of men who are very close with their mothers. Okay, my brothers included before our mother passed, and specifically my one brother, if he was upset in the middle of the night, it didn't matter if it was 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. Who did he call? My mother. So if that's what they're going to go with, these creepy ass son of a bitches, and they're going to convict this man because he called his mother, that you want to talk about shaming? Sorry, you're going to convict this dude on this? Shove it up your ass.
Robin, I don't think I've ever heard you say the phrase "shove it up your ass."
And there's no proof that.
You never heard me say a lot of things, DA, but
I know. I'm super proud of you on a Friday night, just pulling that shit right out. That's
and look, there's no proof that a K-bar knife was even used. It says wounds consistent with that.
Oh, we
type
love
of
that.
knife.
Dr.
We love
Turvey
that word.
said
Consistent. I hate
shove that up
damn
your
word.
ass too.
Yeah, Dr. Turvey specifically said nothing specifically said the wounds were committed by a K-bar knife. All it was a fuckery of language. It could be consistent with a bladed knife such as a K-bar knife. Nothing in the reports ever said that the wounds were committed by a K-bar knife. They just said it was potentially consistent with a bladed knife such as a K-bar. What do you got there, Dago?
It's another
a K-bar? That's a little long for a K-bar. You're muted. How many inches is that?
This is what I think was used. In my opinion.
I was gonna say that's a lot bigger than 8 inches. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
This is what I think was used.
It's a machete, right? Is that kind of a machete?
It is a machete, yes, because of many of the descriptions of things. That is what one of the main weapons I believe was used. Because again, if somebody was chased around, that's the best way to do it. You have a distance between you and the person, and you can still attack them with that thing. And certain other things that we saw in the photographs make me believe that as well. I've always said that from the beginning, that I do believe that is probably one of the main weapons.
Yeah, and that's like a machete to the Zombie Dragons comment.
It is.
If I believed what you were saying, Dave, I wouldn't sleep tonight. I gotta go, guys. excuse me, I really appreciate the time.
All
Thank you
right.
for inviting me, and I miss all
Good
of
night.
you. And I hope I can do this again sometime
You
in the
will,
near future,
Estes.
up to DA and the rest of you, of course.
Thanks, Jason Estes. Thanks for joining us
Yeah,
tonight. Have
be
a great
well.
night.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening, guys. Take care. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Dago, I got the link back. It's in the backstage.
Hey, DA,
Thank
we
you.
ready to address the bombshell of the green jacket?
Oh God, dude, we're already at 2 hours and 40 minutes. You know I only do a 2-hour show. How the hell are we still here? How are we even here still?
Dude, you got over 600 people in the chat.
Oh,
People are
fuck.
tuned in. You can't bail on people.
Yeah, if you want to talk about the green jacket, let's do it.
I mean, in the book, he addresses the green jacket found in the bottom unused bedroom that was soaked in blood, and a bracelet, a broken bracelet that also had blood on it. And
Yeah.
I don't have it right in front of me. They used like words like unconflicted. Testing was unconflicted with the other people in the house except for
Dylan Mortensen.
Okay. Now, why would that be dismissed and not followed up on?
Dude, look, I don't have the energy to do this. You're gonna fucking make my brain explode. How the fuck do you ignore a bracelet and a bloody jacket on the fucking first floor when the killer never went out the fucking first floor? Remember, he went out the back. God dang it, man. You're gonna make me lose my mind. Yeah, how did that get overlooked? How did that get overlooked? It's a major problem.
Well, when they tested this jacket, if I remember correctly, they came back and said it doesn't match anything. That's what they said. That jacket that was Dylan's has nothing to do with anything convenient.
Every part of this investigation was, we already have our theory. It was a lone killer who went out the back door on the second floor. Therefore, every single thing that didn't match that narrative was just dismissed. Hair that was in Ethan's hand was considered debris. Hair that was not Brian Koberger's in the bed up with the Kaylee and Maddie was listed as just debris. Any kind of evidence of a cleanup or blood down below on the first floor had to be inconclusive and not part of the crime scene because he went out the back door. They just ignored. They just flat out ignored anything that wasn't.
And guess what they did conveniently? They covered that jacket in Amito black with so much of it, in my opinion, that they killed anything that was on it. There's no way to trace it at that point. When you overdo it with that stuff, it's done. That's exactly what I believe they did. So saturated, yes. People are saying it in the chat too. They saturated, therefore it would kill it. It's gone. It's worthless.
I don't remember, JJ. Do you remember? Look, all of you on the panel have read the book. Did any of you remember? Did they say specifically that blood on the jacket was Dylan's, or did they just say DNA was?
I can
Dylan?
Pull it up right now.
Yeah, please do, because this is one of the things JJ.
I got my tablet here for that reason.
Yeah, this is one of the things JJ and I were talking about. If it was Dylan's jacket, and I thought they implied it was Dylan's jacket, then of course Dylan's jacket.
They did. It is hers. It was hers.
Right. So listen, if it was Dylan's jacket, of course it's going to have Dylan's DNA on it because it's Dylan's jacket. But if the blood on the jacket was Dylan's, that's a whole fucking different story. So the question is did they just say that the DNA, that they found DNA on the jacket and that the DNA was Dylan's, which again, if it was Dylan's jacket, then why wouldn't it be Dylan's DNA?
I remember it was pretty far. It was pretty far into the book. Do you guys remember how far?
Yeah, it's in chapter 13.
13.
Chapter 13.
13.
Somebody pull it up so we can have it on screen. Can anybody pull it up on the backstage?
I'm pulling it right now.
Yeah, you guys pull it up because I have it separate on my tablet here.
I'll pull it up real quick here. Give me a second.
Yeah, I mean, I was behind you guys with the book because you guys got it before I did. So that was one of the last, I read that fairly recently, and I'm almost positive it said the blood was unconflicted. That was the word they used, which I'm not familiar
unconflicted
with.
Is a very weird word.
Right. It was
unconflicted is a very weird word.
And that I'm pretty sure that they were talking about blood being Dylan's because they were speaking about blood. So, but we'll have to look at it.
Real quick, Whit James for the
Yeah.
$4.99. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Unfortunately, at the moment about the Celebrite interview, we're gonna have to set that aside. Even though I super appreciate you donating to the channel, but we're on this fucking blood of Dylan. I don't want to sidetrack from that right now. But so thank you, Whit James. Please
Yeah,
hang
I
on.
found it.
I got it. Do you have it? Because I have it. I'm scrolling to get to chapter 13, but I have it pulled up.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at it's just look in chapter 13.
And while you're looking, guys, Zombie Dragon made a comment about we didn't address Xana's mom, potentially the ratting scenario. And we did address it indirectly. We talked about a drug hit related type thing, CI, snitches get stitches. The reason why we didn't specifically address Xana's mom is because based on all the information, it was determined by Turvey that Kaylee was the target. And so we were looking at it from the angle of Kaylee potentially being a CI.
By the way, real quick, one of our superstars on my team, Amanda, is texting me backstage, and she says that she's pretty sure that they used Blue Star and not Amino Black.
Yeah.
And then it tested
that's
positive.
correct.
She
and
is
then it tested
correct.
positive for blood, but since it was sprayed, they couldn't determine whose it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
So I can
destroyed
read
the
it.
DNA basis.
I can read it here.
Isn't that fucking convenient that it destroys the fucking
Says-
DNA so you can't tell whose it is?
Right.
Yeah.
We know.
Is it just me?
Yeah.
No,
Thank
you're
you,
right.
Amanda. Thank you, Amanda.
Right. I'll read the part what JJ's talking about. We know police found the downstairs bathroom scoured and completely empty of what one might expect to find in college housing, but not why they disregarded that as normal. We know they found a blood-soaked green jacket in the empty first floor bedroom and that it tested positive for DNA mixtures that could not be deconflicted except for one, which was Dylan's. That's what it says.
All right, so it was DNA.
It was DNA.
Yeah.
So
DNA
DNA means
yeah.
what? If it was Dylan's jacket,
it was blood.
She wears it all the time. It could have been her hair. It could have been skin cells. It could have been. They're not saying where the DNA came from.
So here's the question we talked about earlier with the cleanup. Part of my theory is that when the shit went down, they absolutely knew exactly what went down. They saw it. They called their contact. My theory has to do with that house being involved in an operation. They had a contact because they would have had to have had a contact with somebody, right? And then the contact went to the house or was in the area already, and then some of the cleanup stuff happened, and that is potentially why that jacket had a lot of blood on it because of that. And maybe it was overlooked and it was left down there, and they didn't think to get rid of it because they were overwhelmed with everything else that was happening.
Well, and that's very good. I feel like it may have been taken off and tossed in that corner, thinking, nobody's going to see this in here at some point. You know what I'm saying? Just saying. By the way, it's backstage if you want it. He already read it, but it's back there. But another thing I want to point out with that whole thing, I'm gonna have to move this then. Just give me a quick second here. I'm gonna have to move that down.
I was going to answer real quick while you're looking for that if it doesn't digress too much. Somebody was asking, what does the term deconflicted mean? Because I also was like, that's a fucking weird word, deconflicted. And so don't lose your thought, Dago. Deconflicted means that potential conflicts have been identified and resolved so that things don't interfere with each other. So somebody decided there was a possible conflict with this data and decided that there was no conflict, so it was deconflicted.
Gotcha. She wasn't this photograph, Lee. The picture that we see of her laying on the couch that night, she's not wearing that jacket while laying there, is she? Or covered up with it, is she?
Is that the photo you're talking about?
That one right there, yeah. That's not the same jacket, right?
Right. You only see a little bit right here in there. Well, yeah, I'm not showing it, but the kind of grayish area, that's the blanket on top of it, right? That's
well, just above the blanket.
Right
below
above the
her
blanket,
ear.
right below. That's what she's wearing, because the other part's the heart-shaped blanket.
So is that
that's what
the
she's
same
wearing.
jacket?
I don't think so. I thought it was a green jacket. I thought they described it as a green jacket.
Yeah, I don't think that's the
Not
same.
green, then it was a brighter green. Okay, then, because somebody had said that to me before, like earlier this afternoon, and I was like, I don't know, but if it was, that would be awful damn convenient. Well, my question is, was the jacket used possibly to clean up, or got messed up during the cleanup? Okay.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Somebody asked a crazy question. It's fucking Friday night, so fuck it. Somebody asked a crazy question. If Dylan's jacket was found with blood all over it at the crime scene, and they just dismissed it as not relevant, does the color of hair that Ethan Chapin has in his hand and is ripped out on the floor, does that match the color of Dylan's hair? Did anybody test that Dylan wasn't missing any hair or had any hair ripped out? Is there any possible? And I'm just asking. I'm not blaming Dylan. I'm asking. Did Dylan have? Could it be Dylan's hair? Could it potentially? Is there?
I mean, it looks like a dark. That's the same color, Lee. Dark blonde. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. And somebody told me
pull that picture up again of Dylan sleeping on the bed. Pull that picture up of Dylan sleeping on the bed. And also, if Amanda is in the chat, can you pull up the photo of the clump of hair on the floor? Let's compare these two photos real quick next to each other.
Now,
I just want to see the color.
I wanted to say too that at the same time that jacket, it's behind backstage, by the way. At the same time that jacket was found with blood on it, there was also a blanket. That's what I was trying to ask you.
Yes, the blanket was taken into evidence.
And they're saying that this is the blanket, and it had blood on it. So, there again. I'm sorry, but you can't ignore these things, okay? If that's the blanket that had blood on it, and I've seen two people say it in chat so far, that's the same blanket.
Look at. And I agree. Somebody said, look, this is speculation only. 100%. This is speculation only. But I want you to, if somebody, for the love of God, somebody please help me pull up the photo of the clump of hair on the ground. Because I'm telling you, the clump of hair is the same color here. Now, I'm not saying.
I have that for sure.
Okay. I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying it's Dylan's hair. But I'm asking you is compare these two photos and tell me if the color is not the same. Again, I'm not saying. I don't know how to fucking say this enough. I'm not saying it's Dylan's hair. I'm asking the question. Is there any possibility of a bloody jacket of Dylan's is found with blood on it that is inconclusive of whose blood it is or whatever, is found at the crime scene? And if there's a bloody clump of hair that matches the same color of hair, is it not something that we should know the answer to? Should we not know definitively that it wasn't her hair? Should we not know that?
Pull it up. It's backstage.
Yes, we should.
I don't see it backstage.
Wait a minute. I blew it up the wrong way. My apologies. Hold on. Here. Now it's backstage.
Is it backstage? I still don't see it backstage.
It's back there. It looks, there's two black boxes. It's back there.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, blow that up. Can you blow that up? Blow it really close to that hair on the floor right there by the wall. Yeah, blow that up.
Well, let me get it any bigger. Come on. Damn it.
Yeah, I know. I get it, dude.
It won't let me blow it up any bigger, but this is it right here.
Right. So all I'm saying is it's a question.
It does match. It looks like it would match.
That hair color looks extremely similar. Extremely similar.
It does. It truly and honestly it does. And if you look right here, so does that.
Yeah, right there. I know. Right there where Dago is moving his mouse across, there's also hair stuck to the bed frame right there. Dr. Turvey, according to the book, Dr. Turvey found that hair was still stuck to that bed frame 2.5 years later. That hair is still stuck to the bed frame. That hair is observed in Ethan Chapin's hand. That as Christopher Whitcomb said, and let me move to a full screen kind of. Well, let me move to this so you can. Christopher Whitcomb described it wasn't a clenched fist, it was a relaxed fist. So he had a hand like this. Christopher Whitcomb on our interview said Ethan Chapin's hand at autopsy is in this position, which was like a clenched fist ripping out somebody's hair that had relaxed a little bit. So it's still in this position, and it had human hair in it. That was and he said it was consistent with the hair that's on the floor, ripped out, that was 6 to 8 inches long in length, in a pool of blood. So whose hair did Ethan Chapin rip out during the commission of the crime? And again,
well, I wanted to say something about that because you're talking about the color of the hair, that was in that picture. Xana had brown hair. She didn't have black hair.
She had dark brown hair.
She had brown hair, and some women have like some parts of the, might be a little lighter than others in different parts. And so again, this is just, we're talking about the hair. And if in fact some shit went down about you're being cheated on, people are on drugs, confirmed, right? They're drinking
Adderall,
pretty highly intoxicated. Shit goes down. Remember, it's not like two sober people just having a conversation. It's after a night of partying. Shit gets heated. Shit can get out of hand and then spiral, right? So all I'm saying is the idea of the Nunez saying suicide right out of the gate, you have to at least look at it. And then you have to ask the question, if speculation, this is not my top theory, but you have to look at, why would it be covered up? What would be the reason why, if something haywire happened like that in the house, why would it be covered up?
Right. And
good question.
And Motoman Max, thank you for. It looks like you donated on Dago's side. Thank you very much for this. Chris said it was like a relaxed fifth or power chord shape. Yeah, and again, he made it. Look, Chris is very, very, very careful about what he said. He literally said, "I'm not saying Ethan Chapin ripped the hair out of one of his assailants' heads. What I am saying is that the crime scene photos and the autopsy photos, and 2.5 years later, when Brent Turvey visited the warehouse where they stored the evidence, human hair of that color is found, and it looks like it's in the relaxed fist of Ethan Chapin." Look, Christopher's being super careful not to say Ethan Chapin ripped the hair out, but I will tell you, between you and me, what he's telling you is Ethan Chapin ripped the fucking hair out of his attacker's head. He just doesn't want to come out and fucking flat out say it. What he's telling you is the factual basis. That hair is found in his fist that looks like it's relaxed because of the death and sitting in before rigor mortis, the hand relaxed. So he's just telling you the facts. The hair is found, a long clump of hair, and you do the math. That's what he's asking you to do. You do the math. He's not going to go as far as to say Ethan Chapin ripped the hair out. Because again, you put him in a difficult question. You put him in a difficult position for you to ask Christopher Whitcomb to just say flat out that Ethan ripped the hair out of an attacker and it wasn't Brian Koberger's hair. That's super hard for him to say, right? That's super difficult because Brian Koberger pled guilty to the crime. So he's going to say Brian Koberger's a liar. What he's going to say is the evidence shows that Ethan Chapin had a clump of blonde hair in his hand, and you do with that what you may.
Right. Well, the question that keeps coming up in the chat, I've seen it several times from several people, is the cleanup and who had the time, who waited 8 hours to call, and then the frat angle. But here's why I always respond to that. Then why would the roommates not be looked into more? Right? Why wouldn't they pursue that? That's obvious. That's an obvious thing. And my theory has always been they were told what to say. They were given a narrative from somebody of what to say. And that's why I always ask the question, if X, Y, or Z happened, why would they cover it up? I'm not saying they wouldn't cover it up. I'm asking the question, why? Why would that cover up be necessary for X, Y, and Z theories? So I ask that for everything. because we all can, I think, agree that there was cover-ups and fuckery involved in this case. So I can't look at anything unless I can explain, then why would law enforcement go to the lengths they have gone to cover it up?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I'm not saying that I can't explain that. I could say, because it was a CI operation, they didn't want that to get out. So they covered up certain things that were involved because they didn't want it to get out that, oh, by the way, someone potentially, or more than one person in the house was a CI.
What is Lenny Moe's comment? Can we ask Jen what she was going to tell us now? I mean, this has been pinned for a while. What was she talking about? Do you guys know?
Idea. Nope.
Okay. I don't know.
I didn't pin the.
No, where's the commenter at?
That's what I was looking for. Where's the comment at? I mean, part of me is like, I'm looking at the time.
Oh, wait.
I never go.
What did she say? What was the comment that you just said?
She said something about a question that Jen asked. What did Jen ask?
Well, she said, "What was Jen going to tell us?"
Oh, yeah. So what was Jen going to tell us?
Oh, she's talking about the Kopaka thing. Well, she's talking about the 25 pages.
Let's talk about Kopaka for a second. What the hell are we doing? Do you guys need to go to bed? It's been 3 hours. We never go 3 hours. Do I need to let my team get some fucking sleep or what? I mean, it's Friday night.
There's 660 something.
I'm good. I can handle, but I'm probably gonna have to jump out of here soon because I have my wife.
Actually, we got a total of 800.
Yeah. So look, the Kopaka situation came up. Those who watch my channel know that I've been on Kopaka from the very beginning. I've been obsessed with Kopaka. I did a bunch of public records requests on Kopaka. We've watched hours of video about Kopaka. At some point, Jen says 25 pages were pulled by the publisher, not Witcom. It was not all Kopaka. It was also the 17-minute call and other info about a man who was stalking women claiming to be cannibal. Yes, Jen S. Yes. All right, look. I caught only a brief portion of the interview with Birdie Bombshells on his show. Somebody had paid money to ask a question about Brent Kopaka. Witcom went into a long discussion about a chapter that was pulled by the publisher from his book, a chapter that included, among other things, discussions about various people. Of which during the conversation with Birdie about that chapter, he said, I could tell you more about Brent, and I about pissed myself because I've been all over Brent Kopaka from the beginning. So I reached out to Chris and I'm like, oh my God, is that chapter about Brent Kopaka? And like Jen said, the chapter had to do with several individuals, including a crazy individual who I think shows up in the reports. We've seen many things about a guy that was running around town that always had knives, had some kind of issue with his mother, that he thought that the university had done some shit to his mother and that she would belittle him. And he would go out on the town getting pissed off after being like, it's a crazy fucking story, but it's in the actual police reports. I think that's a lot of what Christopher Whitcomb was covering in that chapter, in addition to maybe other figures, including possibly Brent Kopaka, but it certainly wasn't that from my understanding, the entire chapter was not about Brent Kopaka, because I about pissed myself when I thought the whole chapter was about Kopaka. I don't think it was about Kopaka in general. So let's clarify that. All right. Well, look. Hey, look. Let's call mercy. I mean, Dago do some family. Fucking 1-1 needs to fucking go to work in the morning. Fucking Robin's back on the East Coast and she's exhausted. Let's put a fork in this shit and call it a good night. So I think let's wrap up here. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions. It's been a great Friday night. I love that we went off the rails a little bit and asked a lot of difficult questions. Let's go around the horn as my traditional fashion. Maybe I'll cue up a song to play us out on the way out. If you haven't seen, let's do Pretty Much. It's a song that we made by AI about Dylan and how things happened at pretty much 4 a.m., which a lot of people think there's problems with it. So we're going to play you out with Pretty Much. But in the meantime, let's go around the horn. JJ, Dago, 1-1, Robin, and then I'll close us out with Pretty Much. And that'll be it for the night. I think it's been a great night. JJ, what do you got for closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think Cat Farm, right? We got to shout out Cat Farm.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Cat Farm. Several great great AI songs. Yeah. So as we started out the stream, it's okay to question people. It's with consideration of everything that's happened and the narrative pushbacks the true crime community has gotten and all the other residual BS that we've had to tolerate. It's okay if someone comes into the fold, it's okay to question their motives. It's not, our job to automatically go along with everything and not question it. And as we said, that's our job to do. That's what we do. Yeah. We're not the mainstream media. We're not Howard Bloom. We're not here to just accept whatever narrative is given without questioning it and holding it to the fire. That's what we're supposed to do. So that's the way it should be. And so I'm all for that. And I think we should continue to do that. And I think so should all the other creators. But, I think it was a great stream tonight. I think we got into some juicy stuff. We addressed a lot of things. And when you see a narrative being shunned or steered away from, that's what you should be asking questions about. You shouldn't just accept information. We've all been invested in talking about this case, and a lot of people have done a lot of research and digging. And so we need to continue to do that. And pay attention. The last thing I'll say, pay attention what happens going forward. As I said, maybe I think it was last night or the night before. Wait and see. Wait and see. See what happens as the narrative shifts. See if other bigger things that are related to this case or as a result of this case, see how they change. And that's what our job is. And I will continue to ask questions. I know that. So with that, great stream. Thank you to the advocates, denizens, meatballs, the awesome mods, everybody that participated tonight. It was a great stream. And so I look forward to tomorrow night. And good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right. And look, if you, there's a lot of new people who are checking out the channel for the first time. If you have not seen the song that Cat Farm put together with AI and whatever called Pretty Much, and if you've not heard it, oh my God, stay through the end of our closing. Don't tune out early. Pretty Much is pretty much fucking worth staying for the close. Mm-hmm. All right, Dick, what do you got for thoughts?
Oh, very interesting show for sure. I appreciate everybody joining us on both sides of the gate. Thank you to all the moderators. Both sides, very much appreciated for everything you guys do as always. Very interesting conversation for sure. So, thank you to Lee, 11, Robin, and JJ as always, and Jason as well, for being here tonight to partake in the conversation. And definitely looking forward to the next time. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. Don't forget to love yourselves and love each other, and do not change a thing. You are all truly the beautiful people. Thank you all so very much.
Very good. And somebody was asking about if Lana was on with Chris tonight. I don't believe Atlanta from
Sunday night.
She's on with Sunday.
Yeah.
Lana from Truth and Transparency is going to have Christopher Whitcomb on her show. Yes. One. Go ahead and do a close. And let's skip the movie trivia tonight.
Sure.
So we've been long tonight. So
yes, I know. So Sunday's a big day. You got Harsh from Harsh Reality. He's breaking down the interview that Lee did with Chris. It's great. And Lana's also interviewing Chris, right? Great discussion tonight. Awesome stuff. Make sure you check out the channel for other members-only content. Does not cost that much. I think it's, what is it, $3 or something?
$3, yeah, $2.99.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing content that you got. Lee's basically making mini series is coming out about his interview with Chris and looking at different stuff. Really awesome stuff. I mentioned it earlier. I highly recommend. I've told the other people on our panel as well. Everyone should really check out the hard Truth by it has to do with Turvey. He has all kinds of stuff on staging crime scenes, like rape and all kinds of different elements of different crimes, but very specifically his stuff on staging crime scenes. And I have to say, many things in this case check the boxes of law enforcement being involved in the staged crime scenes, I can say. But thanks to everyone, the panel, all of our mods, my wife, Essie, Amanda, Cat Mojo, thank you for all the stuff that you send me, and I include. I tried I don't know if it's gonna let me. Did it? Yeah. Okay. I put the link. Did it let? I think I put the link in to Turvey's thing. We don't always put links from other channels, but this is like different. Turvey is a specialist in the case. I think you guys would really lose out not hearing what he has to say. It's really good stuff. So thanks all of you. And maybe just before I let Robin go, I'll let Robin announce it. I don't know if we've announced what we're actually doing on Sunday on the live, but I'll let her do that. But
we did on my
all of you guys. Oh, you did. Okay.
Sorry about that. I just cut you off in the middle of your close.
That's okay. No, it's good. It's all good.
Robin, what do you got for closing?
Oh, as one was saying, Sunday night, I know Lana's got a big interview with Chris going on and whatever, but if you feel like stopping on by our cold case, and that's what Sundays are here, it's Crimes After Dark cold case, we're going to be going over the Black Dahlia case, and back in the 40s. So
that's a good one.
It's an excellent, very, very interesting case. There's many theories. So that's what we will be doing on Sunday night. So that's 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 8 p.m. Eastern, just like always. So we'd love to have you. And thank you to each and every one of you for coming out tonight. Thank you to all the mods. We couldn't do what we do without you. And our various team members, we just love you so much. And if you're on the replay crew, we love you just as much. So, and with that, everyone have a good night.
All right, everybody, and thank you for coming to A Crimes After Dark. I'm going to play us out with a song called Pretty Much. It was an AI-generated thing. Cat Farm, one of our longtime followers from the very beginning, created the lyrics and an epic collaboration, epic, between her and AI. It's not for everyone. You might find it a little distasteful. You have to have a sense of humor. If you know Dylan, when she says a lot of things that pretty much happened at 4 a.m., this song is a riot. I'm going to put the team on the side panel so that they can interact if they want to with the song. If you haven't seen it, you need to see this. Stay for Pretty Much. Thank you for coming to Crimes After Dark. Take it easy. We'll see you again tomorrow night, same time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And here is Pretty Much.
Is it real or just a dream? Can I tell you what I've seen? Pretty much at 4 a.m. a man appeared in front of me. I don't recall a single thing. I'm so lost inside my mind. No one answers when I ring. Was it real or just a lie? Can I tell you what happened? Pretty much at 4 a.m. something happened. Pretty much, I don't know what happened. Pretty much, everyone is super nice.
This song still makes me laugh.
My friends were home, but I'm not sure. I went straight past and left her there. When I saw her lying on the floor, I ran away, but I wasn't scared. I don't recall a single thing. I'm so lost inside my mind. No one answers when I It wasn't like anything was wrong. I don't know if this is real or not. She danced with the dog and sang a song. What happened? I don't know. I forgot. I don't recall a single thing. I'm so lost inside my mind. No one answers when I ring. Was it real or just a lie? Can I tell you what happened? Pretty much at 4 a.m. something happened. Pretty much. I don't know what happened. Pretty much. Everyone is super nice. I don't remember at all.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming to Crimes After Dark. See you next time.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.